I can't think of anything that I have ever read that is more unreadable than this book. I don't think I've ever taken this much psychic damage from a book before. Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we're doing a deep dive on The Age of Scorpius by Audra Winter. This is the book that was highly anticipated by thousands of readers. It achieved TikTok viral status before it was even published, and then it ended up being a huge giant flop with 1.8 stars on Goodreads. It is no longer on the market, at least in the version that I bought, and the author is supposedly re-editing it and going to republish it, but the date for this keeps changing. It is currently set to republish in spring 2026. She marketed it as being edited by seasoned professionals, but then after backlash, admitted that she did not do at least copy edits. I covered all of this in a YouTube video about what occurred with the author, but this book review is separate because I need time dedicated just to this book's innards. I don't know how much editing actually occurred on a developmental level or a line level, but as someone who read this book, I agree with the rest of the reviews that say it was not enough, because this, on a line level especially, is very, very poorly written. And that's a shame because it was marketed as being a high quality product, and it is absolutely not. There is nothing here. It will leave you confused. It will leave you empty. I, to this point, still don't know why this is called Age of Scorpius, because the word Scorpius is never used in the book. Are you ever hungry and you fill your stomach with air? That's like reading this book. Not every book can be The Everlasting by Alexei Harrow, which is the highest of quality in my opinion. If you do need something that is a high quality actual snack to keep you going, then do yourself a favor and check out today's sponsor, which is Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is a high protein, high quality, no sugar meal to add the energy you need to get your day going. It's just like the cereals we all loved as kids, but made with fueling high quality ingredients that make it a great alternative for those of us looking for a low carb option.
Magic Spoon has 4 to 5 net grams of carbs per serving,
with 0 sugar while still delivering 13 to 14 grams of protein. And their bars, which I actually brought one with me today because I'm gonna be here reviewing this book for a while and I'm gonna need a snack. Oh man, I already need a snack. One that'll keep me full, which is what's great about protein, is that it's satiating. This is 1 gram of sugar and the bars have 11 to 12 grams of protein per bar. I'm a huge fan of their bars, but lately in the morning, I've been craving chocolate peanut butter cereal. So I've been mixing together, like this is a pro tip, mix together their chocolate cereal and their peanut butter cereal. You can thank me later. It is the best combination. There's no artificial ingredients. They fit a variety of diets. It's a childlike treat for grown-ups, but it's also wheat-free and gluten-free, and it's keto-friendly, and it actually tastes good, which is the most important part to me. My kids are a huge fan as well, but I admit that I have a hard time sharing, to be honest. They may be childlike treats, but they're mine. This cereal is super crispy crunchy, which is important to me, makes a great stim food, packed with all the protein and none of the sugar. I don't know about you, but sometimes I put cereal in a plastic bag. I've done this since high school, put cereal in a plastic bag and eat it while I'm out and about. I particularly like the frosted kind for this. It's like a trip to the past, like childhood in a spoon, but with ingredients that us grown-ups are like, all right, cool, that works for me. Click the link in the description and use my code READSWITHRACHEL to try Magic Spoon cereal or treats today and get $5 off. You can also find Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store or on Amazon. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product. It is backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. Didn't like it? No worries. They'll give you a refund, no questions asked. Click the link in the description below or go to magicspoon.com/readswithrachel again to get $5 off your order. You can also scan the QR code that's on the screen. And thank you again so much to Magic Spoon for sponsoring today's video. First and foremost, we need to have a few disclaimers and get things out of the way before we jump into this. First and foremost, as the t-shirt says, reviews are for readers. This video is not for the author. This video is not for friends, family, or employees of the author, of which there are 20 or more. Set us both up for success here, and do not be here if you fall under any of those categories. When I did that video talking about the controversy, someone in my comments said, because I made the same disclaimer, they said, you said that, but then you say you in the video as if you're talking to Audra, and they got a little snappy with me about this. When I say that and then say you in the video, it's not because I changed my mind midway through the video Just like when I'm talking in my car to a person who is driving, I don't know, erratically on the road or cut me off or has a Let's Go Brandon bumper sticker, and I say inside my car, what are you doing? I don't actually want to talk to them. If I did, I'd roll down my window. Or in this case, I would tag. I don't want to, and I'm not going to. Another thing I want to say is in that video I did about the controversy, I mentioned that people were being asked to soften their blows, to pull their punches. And I got a couple comments that did not like that specific phrasing because they got fixated on the word punch being used. I was asked, why do you view reviewing as punching? I do not. It is a figure of speech. I was discussing how people were asking reviewers and consumers to be nicer about their feedback, to tone police themselves. And the reason given for this was because she's a debut author, they should have been nicer about their feedback. And because she's 22, they should be nicer about their feedback. When I say pulling punches, it's a figure of speech used to convey holding back, being less forceful, being less harsh. Say the same thing, but be nicer about it in order to center and spare somebody's feelings. It is not literal. I guess I should have used a different figure of speech to convey the same thing, which for example would be people were being asked to sugarcoat, people were being asked to soft pedal, people were being asked to walk on eggshells. I do not view reviewing as walking on eggs or punching. It is not literal. I was just saying that people were being tone policed. I'm sorry if that was unclear. And the reason people were being tone policed, again, was because Audra is young and this was her debut. However, Audra herself set the stage of expectations, and this book fell wildly short of her promises, so it does in fact make entire sense why consumers were giving feedback about that. Here are things that she promised about her writing of this, about her product, about the care she took in writing this, and things that legitimized herself as a writer that we should have high expectations of. I talked about this comment, and she says that she hired all of these experts, that this thing has been looked at so carefully, that it's a perfect introduction to her world. She also said she became an expert at editing after receiving, which was spelled wrong, critique from experts. I was considered a child prodigy with hundreds of thousands of words written before I was even 15. I rewrote the first book 6 times. She said she wrote and wrote so much, contributing to her, quote, understanding of her world and characters. As a person who has read the book, I disagree. She said she built complex diagrams and graphs, storylines, and family trees. She said, I solve problems in my plot and world just by thinking all the time. 1,000 years of intricate history, she says, following it up with how this page is now inaccurate because it's from 4 years ago, which to me does not speak to her having like a set direction on where the book needed to go and sticking with it. And she says, I use symbolism and metaphors like they're my lifeline. I am an English teacher's worst nightmare. Book plotting in ways you probably didn't know were possible. My brain functions in a spiderweb-like visualization. She says she has an understanding of her main character, Reika, at an inhuman level after walking this world since she was 12. And last, but honestly, the thing I want to point out here the most, the other main character is Chase. I have mastered the art of writing in Reika and Chase's voices as a narrator. Please keep these things in mind as I review this book. This book seems to be set in a version of our world. The introduction says things about Earth, but none of that comes up in the rest of the book. I don't really understand what happened or how much it matters to our characters now. If you ever watched the TV show The 100, you know that what happened before the, apocalypse essentially matters very deeply to the daily lives of the people living post-apocalypse. The introduction says, we blurred the lines between humans and machines and it burned Earth alive. Don't ask me what this is referring to. The book never says. Earth burned and then it had one central continent. We named the Guardian land for humanity Guardian with the U cut off. I don't know what this is referring to. Who freaking knows? I just work here.
What the hell are you talking about?
Then the stars and the sun and the moon, all capitalized, told humans, do not create machines when the stars above have always been within. I don't know. As we shared the stories of the stars, the cosmos connected energy to magic and magic to body. They then received arch powers, which I'm not very familiar with zodiac stuff, so I had to ask people, are arches a thing in the zodiac? And I was told no. They got arch powers, the humans, and in Guardian without the U. What are arches? So far the book doesn't say, and I don't think it explained where they came from. It says Libran healing for Libra, spirit walking Cancer, and zodiac turning Scorpio. Why? I don't know, but those are the 3 arch powers. The arch powers attached to the date of birth were genetically transferred from one generation to the next, evolving into numerous magic systems throughout all 12 signs. So it's zodiac-based magic, so when you are born determines what kind of magic you have. Here is page 1. It is not great. We're just going to briefly recap what happens in chapter 1 because there's so much to cover and chapter 2 is worse. Actually, before we get into any further, I want to say one more thing. I am not going to catch everything, and some things I could be wrong about. I'm not an editor. I'm just a reader, so feel free to correct me if I am wrong about the use of a word or punctuation or whatever, because it helps me understand writing as well too. Just don't be a dick about it. Some of y'all have been a little extra in my comments lately. Chill out. Is something with the astronomy going on that's making y'all kind of feisty? Also, I'm not going to another thing. I'm also not going to tell you up front what is in the glossary or in this. We're not going to get there because the book itself should deliver that information, especially because we were told by the author that the world building is the character's special interest and that she info dumps because of this. And yet, I don't understand this world, and what I do understand, which is not much, mostly comes from reading the glossary, not from having learned it in an organic way through the text itself. So chapter 1, it says that no one lives in Conviction Woods, but of course our main character does. Despite the fact that it is, quote, uninhabitable, she is inhabiting it, and there's also stuff everywhere from the war. Do you fuck with the war? Our main character is Reika Spring, and she is at an arch. Where did the arches come from? I don't know. And it has old writing on it. This book has several types of writing that are called runic, which is confusing. If runic is a language, then it probably should be capitalized, but it's not. The old writing on the arch is a combo of 2 languages, which are Drixal and something else, which the author says are keyboard smash names, despite the fact that the author also says everything she writes is intentional. Reika can't see the top of the arch or something, so she is going to have to come back. Despite the fact that the chapter is not giving us any sort of sense of urgency, it just sort of like mentions that enemies are coming, though I don't know how she knew that. She is then come upon by guards who mention that they could get a good price for her because she's a Scorpio. Now, I think, now that I've read it, that meant that she's a Scorpio who broke the Scorpio code. Anyway, they have a conversation where there's a bunch of repetitions, but I didn't understand which guard was saying what. And then one guard goes into Conviction Woods after Reika, and the shadows in Conviction Woods attack the guard who leaves screaming. Do these guards report this despite the fact that they were like, we could catch a good price for her bringing her in? No, apparently they don't. Why? I don't know, but she skedaddles off to her house in the uninhabitable woods. The woods only lets certain people inside, but the only people who know that are the people who can get inside without getting killed. So she lives in a cabin in the woods that's also in a sandy clearing. It's her parents, and her half-sister, Avia. They live with Avia's dad, Rowan, and both of their mom. The parents have been living there since before her and her half-sister were born. I don't understand how that's possible with the timeline of events with Reika's biological father, but okay. They are all immune to the forest. All 4 of them. It does not attack them. So they live in this house in the woods in secret, and it even has running water. So her and her sister talk. Her parents are not currently home. Her and her sister talk, and it mentions that she walked 20 miles to get to that arch, but not her sister, who didn't get up at 3 a.m. like Reika did. At this point, we'll point out Avia's flaws and failures to measure up, but never Reika's. Reika can do no wrong.
That's it, I'm quitting this god-awful job.
Shut up, Aries.
They're walking around their house in a scene that's supposed to be establishing a lot of things. So characters, their family dynamics, the setting, the world building, and it is doing all of this in the most fumbling way possible, despite the author claiming to be an expert in editing, with a perfect intro to her world. Avia followed me in, her voice carrying through the hallway like an echo chamber, loud, distinctive, and most importantly, my sister's voice. What? Okay, so it doesn't really sound like we have a good understanding of what an echo chamber is. An echo is not normally loud. It gets less distinctive as it echoes, actually, but ultimately, the way that this is written, it sounds like the sister's voice in particular is being pointed out as being like an echo. Objection relevance.
Your Honor, my client is a Scorpio.
Oh.
And I thought, okay, we just sort of got off to a fumbling start. The entire book is like this. The entire book is like this.
Right after this, we have a conversation between them where they're talking about the Scorpio code, not the Scorpius code. The Scorpio code recited itself in my head. Never show emotions, never befriend others, never fall in love. Whereas Avia, who is an Aries, it says, Aries, the warrior, the fighter, taught to not show fear. And then we have this part. This is when I knew that this book was wildly inappropriately priced for how poor of editing it was, because we are in chapter 2, and this part says, though not showing fear wasn't an official code that the Aries Stellarium issued, it was held above Avia's shoulders with societal pressure. In that moment, for the first time in years, I saw the irresistible worry in the tears at the edges of her eyes. She wouldn't dare let them fall. Now, number 1, what is an irresistible worry? Number 2, why do we have back-to-back prepositions used in the tears at the edges of her eyes? Then it says, a guilt crept through me. I don't know why we said a, just say guilt. Just say guilt crept through me. If only I could listen and obey my code as much as Avia inherently rarely feared. I don't understand why that sentence is written like that. What do you mean inherently rarely feared? Like, I can understand what you're saying, sort of, but the way you said it sounds like an oxymoron.
The main conflict in this book is one that in this world, is one that our main character is subjected to, which is called the Scorpio code. Why is it not called Scorpius code? I don't know. The Scorpio code recited itself in my head. Never show emotions, never befriend others, and never fall in love. That's the Scorpio code. Avia is an Aries, and Aries are taught not to show fear, but they're allowed to have other emotions. They're also known as the warriors and the fighters. Now, at this point, we're in like chapter 2. So I thought we would start establishing how, since powers are connected to birthdays, we would potentially have a society that would only want to get pregnant in certain months in order to ensure that only certain kinds of powers came to fruition. And this never gets brought up. We never talk about this. In fact, the only time that pregnancy is brought up is to mention that 2 of our main characters, their moms had cryptic pregnancies. And I'm like, what? How bonkers coincidental is that? She tells her sister that at the arch, she saw a combination of runic, lowercase r for some reason, writing Drixal and Rurian. It was different from the writing on the other arches I've seen. I feel like we could rewrite that sentence to take out just like an overuse of prepositions in this book. I feel like if we relied on them less, it would sound less odd and less like every sentence is just very hard to get through. And Reika has been documenting the history of the world that she's been finding in and around Conviction Woods. Why? We don't really know. Then we start talking about the politics of this world, which, unless you flip to the back and look, you will not understand the politics. And even when it tells you, which is like 85% into the book, if I remember correctly, when it finally tells you, it's told in the most clunky and hard to understand way possible. But every sign, astrology sign, has a leader, but also it mentions that Sagittarius, I'm not sure if it was saying that all of Sagittarius is missing or what. The point is, there's supposed to be 12 leaders, but Scorpio gets more votes than everybody just by virtue of being Scorpio. The Aries leader is Atlas Fulbright, one of the 2 Arcturas leading the Guardian's entire stellarium. Do you know what those words mean? Me neither. If you want to find out, you have to flip to the back of the book. He was perhaps the most influential government figure in Guardian, leading with the other Arcturia, the Scorpio leader. So if you want to know what an Arctura is, again, and what a stellarium is, you need to flip to the back and find the glossary where these are explained, which is weird considering, again, the author explicitly stated that our main character's narration is different because she likes to info dump about the world, but you didn't want to info dump on either of these things, Miss Historian? Oh yeah, our main character, Reika, is a historian.
You see, in my head, I thought that was really, really cool.
Avia, our main character's half-sister, is a fire mage, and what we learn about the different magics is very few, but and far in between. But as a fire mage, it says her skin burned at a higher temperature than the average human, fluctuating with the intensity of her emotion. Now, what this sounds like is her skin burned like from the sun, but what it is trying to say is her temperature fluctuated, not her skin is literally burning all the time. So what's Reika's power as a Scorpio? We'll see in a second, and it's ridiculous, and it also only comes up in this chapter and then never again. But she has a secondary power that gets brought up an awful lot, but then that first power is just brushed under the rug. Probably because it's useless. It's like really utterly useless. So she talks about how she has a recent fixation on, her history learning. My most recent fixation was sitting in the circle of my mess on top of a wolf fur rug in the middle of the room. Did we need all those prepositions? Because I don't think we did. Papers detailing one of the locations in the war of the rebalancing where a battle had taken place on the conviction assiduous border, near an ancient arch, the right arch. And then it says, don't ask me what most of those words mean, because in order to find out, you have to flip to the back of the book. Conviction is one group of astrology signs, and assiduous is another group of astrology signs, and they have borders. It also mentions that every stellarium, regardless of the union or sign, because not only are there stellariums, but there's also unions, every stellarium was hungry for any information to reverse the curse on the wood, which is odd, because then you would think that she would not have run into the woods, no mask on, when in chapter 1 those people were chasing her and they went in, saw that she did not get attacked by the woods, but the guard did. That's information. The fact that people are living in the woods is in fact information that could be taken to the stellariums, and you just let it happen. You didn't keep a secret that you can go into the woods. Okay. I was worlds ahead of their knowledge base on the forest. Most of my artifacts, she finds artifacts around the forest, were from within the woods themselves, and they'd never know I had them. To their understanding, no one lived in the forest that was supposed to kill anyone who stepped foot in it, which is a clunky way to write that sentence, but all right. She thinks that the fact that the two languages are mixed together on the arch that she was looking at this morning means that it's older than the other arches that she's been to. I don't know why she thinks this, but she does. Her sister doesn't really care about all this stuff though, despite the fact that, they live in hiding, and Reika's entire thing is trying to prove something. I don't really know. To prove something about the history of the world. Again, this is why this book got called bad, because none of this is explained. So her sister asks her to use her power, which is shape-shifting clothes. They find that it's easier and cheaper to buy low-quality clothing and have me shift it into something of higher quality. I don't understand.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't understand. We could have gone with any power and we went with shape-shifting clothing specifically, and I don't know why. She can shape-shift clothing into specific designs. Her sister is make me this dress, mostly red but with yellow swirls. The shape-shifting light pulled from my hands, enclosing the fabric with a white glow until all traces of the black were gone. And then she makes her own dress. She shape-shifts her own dress because there's a ceremony that they have to go to, and she shapeshifts her own dress into a simple ombre black and red dress, Scorpio's colors.
I got one idea that I'm especially psyched out of my mind about. It's one of those ideas where you're just yeah!
Shapeshifting had never been easy for me. Compared to obvious fire magic, my power was harmless and somewhat weak. I had a few substances I'd learned how to morph over the years. Fabric, sand, and metal were the textures I could barely change. It still managed to save us the effort of buying more clothes, especially with Mom's shapeshifting too. Her mom is also a Scorpio, also does not adhere to the Scorpio code, which begs the question right off the bat, which Scorpios do obey the code and why? Then we get this really oddly written thing that there's a sword or a blade inside of her room. In the reflection of a blade, my one red, one gold eye returned my gaze. The longer dagger underneath it, directly aligned with the scar across the middle of my neck, a wound without an origin, a mark of a blade I couldn't remember being cut by. For the sake of time, we're just not gonna go over that one.
So me think, why waste time? Say lot word when few word do trick.
So then they talk about where the ceremony is in this really oddly written paragraph that's using the words the East Trail over and over, and also the hub, which is like the city. I don't know why we needed to know this, but I think the reason is because I think Audra is one of those people who, what is it called when you make up a world in childhood and you like visually see it and you're very immersed in your own imaginary world that you create? Paracosm. So I had one of these too when I was young. I made it up at around like the same time as Audra did, like 11, 12. It was sort of like a portal fantasy, and it was behind like a secret garden type door. The way that you move around my imaginary world are there's these like shallow streams that have water running, but underneath is not like dirt or sand. It's this diamond type material that you sort of like skate on with your bare feet. To me, like I loved my imaginary world. Audra, I think, has a very particular vision of her imaginary world, and that's why she's so excited to employ artists to help her bring it to life. The problem is that her trying to explain it to other people, especially in text, so far is not going well. She really wants you to know information and does not know how to convey it to you. That's my understanding, having read her book. So they go to the ceremony in chapter 3. The ceremony master stepped forward to the middle of the stage. Behind her sat the audience, which was a lot more of Avia's friends than I expected. I would not get involved in that mess on my way home. In front of them, our parents sat in the front. Dad was wearing a white polo. This threw me the fuck off because I was like, wait, what setting are we in? Because like a polo is very specific. The conclusion I had to come to was that this is like post-apocalyptic or whatever, I don't know the term for it, way after our world, where we still have some leftover things of our world like polos and backpacks, but no technology. Why do we have no technology? I don't know. I guess it's something to do with the stars. Again, I don't know. I'm gonna be here for hours, so I'm just gonna get cozy. I don't care anymore. Dad was wearing a white polo with a gold rim. I don't know what that means. I don't know what a gold rim means on a polo shirt. Signature to Libra's colors, despite the fact that he was a Cancer.
I don't like confrontations. I'm a Virgo.
Mom must have shifted his clothing to disguise him so he could still attend our ceremony. Dad was not supposed to be anywhere near Conviction Woods. In fact, Dad lived in Conviction Territory. Living in Conviction Territory as an Ontarian was equally as dangerous as me breaking the code. So there's union law that is even older than the Scorpio code, apparently, in place for the entirety of Guardian's history, which I don't know who placed this as a law, but okay. Though he mostly used the house in the woods as his safe haven from the law, he traveled in between Ontarian and Conviction Territory to support us, using his skills as a water mage with the Ontarian Stellarium. Mom, a Scorpio in all black, sat next to him perfectly still, careful to avoid showing any sign of connection to him. Then why sit next to each other? Okay. Mom and Dad's relationship directly broke the union law, a law consistent across all unions to only marry within your union, said to keep the order within Guardian and maintain responsibility between the signs and their contribution to the functioning of the world. That is such a clunky way to say this. So what I think that it's trying to tell you is that only certain signs can marry each other, and therefore their parents have to pretend not to be married in public, which why they would sit next to each other when they're pretending not to be married in public is beyond me. And her dad, in fact, pretends to be a different sign. So my question is, if y'all are chilling in Conviction Woods as a family and nobody can go inside Conviction Woods, and if you get found out that you are a family despite your marriage outside your union and two of you not adhering to another law, the Scorpio code, why do you ever leave the woods at all? What are we doing? Why do you do that? Why do you even participate in this society? And like, here's the thing is the consequences of this is all of them are having to lie. As a result of this, Avia, the half-sister, does not have a technical residence. Because of the code, she couldn't live with our Scorpio mother, only I could. So only Reika can live with their Scorpio mom. So they're tearing families apart.
How's that for being born under a bad sign?
I didn't know who our parents paid, but there were fake official documents that stated Avia was in adolescent Aries community housing. Children were forced to live in community housing if their parents were not in the same union or were Scorpios. But that was only up until 18 years of age, when the ceremony was meant to take place, and Avia had aged out of adolescent housing a year prior. We were living together at mom's fake address in the hub. Fake address? So, okay, here's what doesn't make sense about this. Her having a fake address should have made all of this fall apart, because the simple fact is that when Reika is found to have been breaking the Scorpio code, which happens before all this, she just doesn't remember it. They should have been, like, logically, you would think that they would investigate this. Why are you breaking the code? Is your Scorpio mother also breaking the code? But they didn't even report this to her mother. They didn't even go talk to her mother about it. And they never went and like checked her home address about this. So they were just, beating the shit out of her at school and then assuming she went back home to a Scorpio mother who was doing the right thing, I guess. So Avia says at this ceremony, which I'm not even sure what we're being ceremonial about, to be honest with you, this is very confusing. Avia admits that she is living with her sister and her mom. It is against Scorpio's law for any sign to be living with a Scorpio, no matter the family ties. You will need to separate. I will contact the Scorpio stellarium to find your sister accommodation. Again, why do they even participate in this society? Their mom is really good at pretending not to have any emotions. Though with years of practice maintaining her composure, even she despised the code for what it stripped her of. Alright, so here's the part where I have to ask, if you are not supposed to have any emotion, and it's very important for Scorpios to maintain this, wouldn't we fall into some eugenics bullshit like pretty quickly? So Scorpios only having sex during certain months in order to create more Scorpios with which they would live with. Wouldn't they be like pretty on top of who was pregnant, where they were living? Wouldn't they want to ensure that only people who stick to the code have more Scorpio children? But then further, if the Scorpio code is about emotions, then the people who are going to have the most emotional outbursts are absolutely children. So wouldn't there be a whole system in place for that was very abusive, that tried to train emotions out of children? And if a Scorpio parent did not comply with this, I mean, like, there's just so many logistical questions that I have that are not being answered here. How do you possibly maintain this? And further, what do all these Scorpios get out of it?
We allow these dastardly bastards to master these hazards that systematically force us to plaster these rafters.
Is it really fully even possible to completely train yourself out of emotion? Is that even, like, as a human, completely possible?
I did not say a lot of things in this video that I wish I had said that I'm thinking about now. And I wanted to share with you an idea I had for how to possibly fix this. Later in the book, when you look at Audra Winter's notes for how she annotated her own book, she says that this is an allegory for the Bible, which is, it came out of nowhere for me, but whatever. If we were actually going to make this a critique on Christianity, this would have been the place to do it. So again, I grew up Fundy, and one of the things that us kids who grew up Fundy and left the religion think about now often is how often we felt that we had to rededicate our lives to Christ, right? So I think that something could have been done here if this was actually like an allegory for the Bible, the Scorpio code, and if this is a critique of Christianity, then the way to do that, if we were going to use the Scorpio code, would have been something along the lines of, and I'm just sort of like thinking of this on the fly, so bear with me. My monster has not kicked in yet. The way that we could have done this was to make it so that once you reach a certain age, you are supposed to have this sort of like manifestation similarly to the Holy Spirit, where you have been trained up as a child, train up a child the way they should go, as the Bible says, and when they're older, they will not depart from it. And then there's like this moment of sort of like when the Holy Spirit, when you accept the Holy Spirit, that it's supposed to like change you forever, right? So we could have had something like that where it's more of like a spiritual moment in a ceremony where it's like, okay, I'm a Scorpio and now I'm dedicating my life to the Scorpio code. I've been trained up as a child and here's the moment. And now all of my emotions are supposed to be gone now that I have accepted Christ or accepted the Scorpio code, right? And what they find is that even though they accept the code, you don't feel changed. And then you wonder, is it just me? Am I alone in this? And this could have been something like, I think that's an interesting idea. That's something that we could have done here where it's like, all right, I'm finally going to be free of these emotions. I'm going to be just like everybody else, which is something that you really struggle with in Christianity. If you feel like you are not emulating Christ the way that everybody else is, you you sort of like compare yourself to how spiritually pure other people are, and you are always feeling like you don't measure up and that you are failing as a Christian. I think that could have been something if we were going to do like a critique on Christianity with the Scorpio code, which is what Audra says she was doing in her annotations. I think that would have been an interesting way to possibly do it.
Anyway, at the ceremony, she gets introduced to this guy named Chase. I don't even remember how he and her met. Something about her dad knowing somebody that knows Chase or something. So then her and Chase are walking together and they have an extremely awkward conversation that I can understand it being awkward because Reika is a Scorpio who is trying to maintain Scorpio composure at all times, Scorpio demeanor at all times. Oh man, the word demeanor haunts me from this book. But the problem is that instead the way that it's written comes off wonky and I have to reread in order to understand. And even then I feel like I'm not really fully understanding what the book is saying. So she asks him on their walk home, where do you live? Or where were you previously living actually? And he says, currently I'm living at the Exchange Center. I apologize for my misspeak. Where was your residence prior to the Exchange Center? I bit my tongue. Each day, my resentment for being forced to speak that way grew stronger. Now, you're going to have to explain to the audience why it is that they have to speak in this very specific way, because you can speak flatly and without emotion, without sounding like, I don't even know how, I'm so tired, I don't even know how to explain this to you, but it sounds like we're trying to be fancier for no reason. And if that's the case, if there's like a specific sentence structure with which Scorpio likes to speak, then you need to explain that, and it's not explained.
Why waste time? Say lot word when few word do trick.
She thinks that he's lying about where he's living, and this was supposed to be a hint because later we find out, oh my gosh, he's also living in Conviction Woods. What are the fucking chances? He asks her if fun exists in her vocabulary. He's acting like he's never met a Scorpio before, which is really weird because shouldn't interacting with each other like happen? I don't know. Does fun exist in your vocabulary? Perhaps. I explore, she says. As they're walking, oh boy, it says, a gust of cool wind brushed astray side banners, accenting the creak of wood, with soft fabric against stone. My eyes caught to, even like my notes are saying that this is incorrect. Like my Google Doc is telling me that this sentence is wrong. My eyes caught to a combination of light magic and torches radiated a gold luminance upon the buildings, shops, and wanderers of the night, while a few colorful light specks buzzed around from enchantment magic. Now, I understand, because some of you came to my comments and you were like, I don't understand what your issue is with the enchantment magic. In D&D, that's a thing. Okay, that's an established thing in D&D. I get that. It's not established here. I don't know what the fuck enchantment magic is. In the context of this world, I have no fucking clue what enchantment magic is. Similarly, we have curses pop up later. I don't know what that means in the context of this world. So the questions that you need to, like when you're world building a brand new world, right? You need to channel your inner 3-year-old and ask yourself why and how. Why and how. And explain that to the audience and then get it to the audience in a way that feels organic and natural. I have no idea what enchantment magic is in the context of this world. I don't know what a curse is in the context of this world. Who does curses? I don't know. How do they do curses? I don't know. And yet we're dealing with curses and cursed objects way later into the book, and I don't even know how we fucking got here. I don't know what enchantment magic is in the context of this world. I don't play D&D, so I don't have an understanding of what enchantment magic is in that. You do need to explain it. Like, I can't just copy paste from, it's not always a one-to-one comparison. Like, even if I knew what enchantment magic is in D&D, it doesn't mean that it is what, there is what that is here. The solitude of the eve enhanced the sounds of distant chatter and the quiet hum of enchantment magic. I would have enjoyed it even more if Chase hadn't been with me. How are you in solitude if Chase is with you? But then the whole gust of cool wind brushed astray sign banners. Astray is the wrong word there. And then the rest of it just gets so lost in the sauce. But then my eyes caught to a combination of light magic. I think that should be caught on a combination, or caught a. My Google Doc is telling me caught a. We're just throwing in prepositions where we don't need them.
Few word do trick.
She tells him, listen, I have to not reside with my Aries sister anymore. And so they go to, I think, the same place that he lives. And she's like, is there a vacancy? And it just happens to be the same place that she's also employed at as a learning historian. This doesn't matter because we're not going to be here for very long.
Work sucks! Why, though?
In chapter 5, we finally start to learn some stuff about the world. So Scorpio and Aries had reigned their Arctura status over Guardian for as long as they'd lived. The Arcturas held the most power over introducing and influencing new laws, with their leader vote counting as 2 instead of 1. So they get extra votes.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Also, talking about the connection between your birth date and your magic, our identities were shaped through an energetic connection between birthday and magic as soon as we entered this world. It laid out our future within seconds, determining where we'd live and who we could love. With our sign came our power, certain types more common among different signs determined by the magic of our parents and how common it was in our sign. I don't really understand the magic thing. So it's your birth date, but it's also a combination of your parents? I don't know. Further, again, wouldn't this mean that parents would link up and decide when to get pregnant so that they could have children of certain signs? That doesn't come up here. Wouldn't Scorpio try to ensure that they had the most amount of people and then they would be able to justify getting more votes than everybody else? That doesn't come up here. Also, the way that this is written, an energetic connection between birthday and magic as soon as we entered this world. So you're still technically in the world even when you're a fetus. So like, because you're born on a certain day, the magic just like manifests within you, I guess, as soon as you're outside of a uterus. I don't know. This is why I don't really like zodiac-based magics. Like, personally, I can see how it could be cool. It's just I have a lot of logistical questions. And if you don't answer them, then I'm just like, I don't know what we're doing here and I'm not having fun. Or she's allowed to talk to other signs, but she's not allowed to befriend them. However, she's not supposed to be friends with anybody, technically. The code was vague enough so the Scorpio Stellarium could manipulate it to their will. The code seems pretty specific to me. So Chase is like, you know, my father, he doesn't like the code either. And he doesn't talk like you do when he's with me. I kind of assumed all Scorpios were like that. Maybe you all loathe it secretly but have to follow it anyway. And she's like, the Scorpio code prohibits your father from residing with you. Yeah, it's complicated. And you trust me to retain that information? I saw you smile at the ceremony. I can tell you love your sister too. I'm not stupid. You've given me more than enough context clues. Oh, bitch, you are so bad at this. You are so, like, I don't understand. Like, it's life or death. They'll kill you if you don't maintain the Scorpio code, which now, first of all, I don't understand why they didn't kill her previously because she has broken it. She just doesn't remember why they didn't kill her parents over it. Like, all of this doesn't make any sense, but you're out in public and you don't school your face not to smile? The code enforces Scorpio's place of power. It is a holy law, initially enacted during the War of the Rebalancing to obey the will of the gods. But then she finally admits to him, as a historian, it's my duty to report a truthful history of Guardian. I have tirelessly studied dozens of scrolls and texts regarding our great Scorpio history, and as of recently, I have begun to doubt oh my god, so much fucking words. The legitimacy of the code's establishment. And he says, that's a bold statement against the Scorpio code. So then she's like, hey, he's tall. He can help me see to the top of this arch, the arch from the beginning of the book, or he can trace it himself. I guess they have backpacks and polo shirts, but not ladders? I don't fucking know. So when they go to the arch, he can read Drixal, the ancient language, even though nobody's supposed to know Drixal anymore. It says, restore and revive by the balance of blood, call upon the cause of the Colexis. The word cause is such a specific choice. And then it says, legend said the Colexis, a mythical sword of immortality, cursed anyone it touched with immortality. So number one, we didn't need to say immortality twice in one sentence. And number two, what do you mean touched? It's a sword of immortality. So if I get stabbed with it, I'm immortal? Or is it like literally if you just boop the sword, you're immortal? And in that case, why do we make it a sword? Why didn't we just make it a fucking pen? The pen of immortality that cursed anyone it touched with immortality. Now, this is an object that curses. And I think it makes sense if it comes from a god, But who does curses amongst humans? Because that's who we're going to, that like somebody is cursed later by other humans, and I don't understand which zodiac sign does cursing. So the legend went that Matthias Merrick, a man sent by the god of the sun, saved Guardian by transferring the all-too-powerful magic of immortality into the Colexis. When Matthias' son Silas fell into temptation and touched the tip of the sword, the gods cursed him to suffer through a lonely, infinite life, a punishment for ignoring holy orders and neglecting magical balance. I need to make a family tree. All right, so Matthias is sword guy. We're gonna call him sword guy. SG. And he has a son named Silas. That's going to be important later, unfortunately. So Silas also ends up immortal. And these are the Merricks. Okay? I highlighted this part, but I don't even fucking remember what's going on here. But I just wanted to talk about the writing here. It says, the air smelled of a peculiar combination of metallic blood and the sweet pine sap from trees deeper in the woods. That sentence is fine. It's not like, wow, but it's fine. I understand what's being said. And then it says, right after that, a mimic of an article I'd read. So what that sounds like is that the smell smells like an article that you read. Not something in an article that you read, but the article itself smelled like metallic blood and sweet pine sap. What? It's the smell of Libran healing. Conviction Woods hadn't lost its magic, and neither had the arches attached to its ancient ties. Attached to its ancient ties. Attached and ties are the same. Okay. So anyways, they realized that Libran healing is not died out, and I guess they thought that it was. I don't fucking know. So they then go to, I forget where they go. They go to look up the information that they found, essentially. I think at the Scorpio headquarters or the library or something, which is like on a floor above where everybody sleeps or something. I don't know. This isn't going to come up again. It's not really important. Not a single room had a glow at the crack of the door from a light inside. The floor was completely vacant. We didn't need that first sentence with all those prepositional phrases. You could have just said the floor was completely vacant. So they go up to this library, I think, and then a bunch of people show up, and it says they pulled down their hood. One of them does, revealing the stone cold face of a middle-aged man. Not the stone cold face of a middle-aged man. We all know that middle-aged men always have stone cold faces. Random phrases like within the flash of a moment. Anyway, they get into a fight with all these people, and suddenly a rectangular space shimmered to expose a room full of bookshelves, and my hand slipped through the glimmering red portal. That's a mess. It's trying to say a door appeared. A light mage jumps towards Chase, and Chase steps aside into the invisible doorway. Apparently the door is only visible to them, and now the Scorpio Stellarium is going to be after them. Old bookshelves lined the room's walls, drooling with astray papers. I think, first of all, drooling does not fit. I think it probably should say papers left astray. Drooling with astray papers and jutting out spines of literature. The room was thick with a combination of smells from bloody metallic magic and archaic musty pages. Looks like an archive to me. No shit. The Scorpio officials must have been guarding it. 2 officials guard each archive. It's the Scorpio's archive. I don't know why we keep saying the word archive. It reminds me of Kronk saying the poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison. We get it. The archive. I'd waited my entire life to be given a chance to show myself. Next to a pile of aged papers, an untouched pristine scroll sat idle. The edges of the scroll were burnt. So a pristine scroll had burnt edges. Okay. It's a letter from the War of the Rebalancing. To the Autarian Stellarium, I am writing to document the unpreventable injustice. The unpreventable injustice? So it's not preventable, but you're still writing about it? Okay. Internally occurring within the Conviction Stellarium, we are experiencing a violation of human rights through the weaponization of religion. The gods will not be pleased. Again, calling it unpreventable sounds like, well, my hands were tied. Isn't it still actively happening? Oh yeah, hands still tied. I don't get it. Blaine has fabricated and enacted a law underneath the title of the Scorpio Code. The Scorpio Code contains 3 tenets. Never show emotion, never befriend, and never fall in love. Blaine claims to have located the scripture concealed within the Scorpio archive. His status as an adjunct to the Scorpio stellarium allows him to establish validity in the discovery of this holy oath. Furthermore, I regret to inform you that Blade inflicted himself with the blade of the Calexis. Of the Calexis? I thought it was just the blade of Calexis, or the Calexis blade. Confused. And this is shocking, because I'd been taught that the Merricks were a man-made myth, the Scorpio a holy truth. In my hands I held proof of the opposite. Silas Merrick was still alive, and the Scorpio code was a weaponized lie. Your little paw. Are you coming to rescue me from the bad book? The bad book is killing me. I'm dying. Save me. Do you follow the Scorpio code? Do you follow the Scorpio code? Love me. She's purring. I'm just kidding. You gonna stay in my lap? Oh, that's so cute. Okay, so here I have Audra Winter, the author, annotated this exact piece. She says, note the continuous repetition of holy. I want this symbolism to be abundantly clear. That's not symbolism. It looks like at the word adjunct, she said POTUS wording, and I'm confused about that. And the fact that the author of this letter that they're finding inside of this archive is putting the words discovery and holy oath in quotes. She says, this was written by someone angry. Why? And I'm like, well, because they think that an injustice is occurring. You said that at the beginning of the letter. The letter says, this law strips the right of choice from Scorpio individuals and thus encourages them to join the stellarium. And her note says, religion used to conform. Yeah, it's all spelled out in the letter. I don't know why we're annotating this and pointing this out. Like, your reader can understand it. Even a teen reader can understand that. The Scorpio stellarium will maintain their governmental influence and dictation of the economy. Religion giving a government the ability to manipulate and maintain their control. I understand. I didn't need you to write that out for me. Blaine inflicted himself with the blade of Calexis. Immortality is involved, ellipses. I understand. I know that. I predict he will manipulate the truth of the Calexis and its existence to preserve his power for an undeterminable amount of time. What other story involves resurrection? Wait. So is this supposed to, are we making commentary on Christianity specifically? Because if so, we've done a pretty piss poor job up to this point. And also, which other story involves resurrection? If we're talking about the Bible, then sure, Jesus, but also Lazarus. Those are just like the pretty well-known ones, but then like the apostles raised a bunch of people from the dead, I believe. A bunch of like widows' sons, and there was one guy who like went into, like his body was tossed into Elisha's tomb, and then he was resurrected because he touched Elisha's bones. There's also like Eutychus, I think, but then there's also like in the end times, there's people that are supposed to be resurrected. So like, which resurrection are we talking about specifically? Because again, if this, okay, we're just gonna move on. At the end of the letter, she annotates saying, Reika is the person severely impacted by a system weaponizing religion. She makes this discovery. Reika is a queer and neurodivergent protagonist. Why is this story told from her perspective? Oh my God. But then this is where it really just went off the rails. Note the structure of these lines. Okay, I'll take note. Man-made myth, holy truth. Was still alive, was a weaponized lie. Voice technique here with rhyming to represent mirroring. I mean, I can understand like mirroring things, but that doesn't rhyme. Then it says the Scorpio code is symbolism for the Bible. Construed holy text sounds familiar. Oh boy. Okay, listen, as an ex-fundie, I am all for us shitting on weaponized religion. I mean, the book that I'm writing my little notes on is called When Religion Hurts You. Like I'm writing my little, like I'm using it as my thing to write on. Like I'm all for it, right? Ex-fundie here. Just found my fucking VHS tape from when my Assemblies of God church 25 years ago did Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames. Like, trust me, I'm cool with talking about weaponized religion, specifically Christianity and the Bible. This, if that's what this is doing the most piss poor job of that I have ever seen. Also, this phrase, the Scorpio code is symbolism for the Bible. I think that should say symbolic of the Bible. or is symbolizing the Bible. Then she starts telling you how to think about what her characters are saying and what their reactions are in a way that is so odd to me. Oh, okay, that's not confusing at all, Chase says. Is treating Revelation as if it's casual or even expected. I don't understand how we were supposed to get casual and expected from the word confusing, but all right. And we know this is real. Between the arch's inscription of the Calexis, we are undoubtedly in the Scorpio archive. Shock is hindering Chase's ability to form cohesive and or clear sentences. So first he was saying that the revelation is casual, even though it's also confusing, and now he's shocked. The Arctura knows this exists and is choosing to keep this knowledge hidden in the archive. Reika says, pay attention to this detail. Audra says, if the code is a lie, so is the Scorpio Stellarium's power. Audra says, the system is actually very fragile. I feel like I'm just confused about how the code is a lie. The code is not a lie. The code's origin is a lie. Like if we're saying the 10 Commandments are a lie, it's a commandment. If we were to say the origin of the 10 Commandments, Moses going up the mountain, that, we could say, all right, somebody lied about that. If we're making like a one-to-one comparison between this and the Bible, but you need to say that. It's not the commandment that's the lie, it's the origin of that. Chase picks up a note folded that stuck out amongst the crinkled and yellowed papers. His eyes widened as he read it. I immediately snatched the paper from his hand. Oh my God. Audra says, standalone line to emphasize Reika's shock. I know. I understand words. It was addressed to us. Sudden reveal to pack a punch. I don't need this explained to me. Chase and I looked up at each other. This look, also known as its own, I don't know what that symbol means, represents the connection of Reika and Chase that happens in this scene. Did we get set up? Chase starts, then stops, restarts his sentence, his thought interrupts. So she's like trying to explain why she writes sentences the way that she does. Reika's like, how'd this happen? I've been searching for that specific art for months now. And it turns out that they were set up to, I don't know, hang out together, I guess. Whoever did this setup just happened to know that Reika would take Chase with her to the arch, I guess. So the question now is, who set them up? The note that is left that makes them believe that they were set up was addressed to them, written in fresh modern runic, which again should be capitalized, with a translation guide to ancient Rurian, which is capitalized, numbers. Someone had signed it off. You're welcome. If they knew where the Scorpio archive is, let alone the existence of that scroll, they've got authority. This has to be someone of status who is against the Scorpio Stellarium. None of it connected. None of it made sense. That's because it's like that thing from the Vampire Diaries where what's-his-face is cursed to only be able to say applesauce penguin, even though he's trying to say the right words.
Wish that were the case, Stefan, but my work with her is just getting started.
What work? What does she want with you?
Applesauce penguin, brother.
Applesauce penguin. So then they have to hide out in his room. And she says, just to be clear, I'm not sleeping with you. And he says, you're not my type. Glad we're on the same page. I'll take the floor, she says. You know who is his type? He's bisexual, which cool. I'm glad there's queer rep. Who is his type is eventually going to be her sister. Her dad dream seeks her, which means that somebody can appear in your dreams. At this point, I'm wondering, your dad knew things and then kept them from you, clearly. Because, he knew that Chase was a safe person for you to talk to, and yet he didn't, set you guys up as friends previously to this. Okay, so seeing her dad, it's her stepdad again. His name is Rowan. A wave of emotion swallowed me, breaking into shivers at the anxiety that hit me all at once. What a sentence. Chase is the safest person you can be with right now. His chest slowly fell as he breathed out in relief. There's a lot of talking about breath in this. In fact, this is a 350-page book. The word gasp or gasped or gasping is used 41 times, which, if my math is correct, doesn't that mean that it's used once every 10 pages? You would think that at that point we would get a synonym used, but okay. So her stepdad says that he is going to dreamwalk to her sister, tell her sister that she needs to meet her on the East Trail. He's like, everything that's happening to you is a good thing. Trust it. And I'm like, a good thing? She's in hiding. We could have said this differently. Everything that's happening to you is divine providence. Everything that's happening to you is happening for a reason. This is going to be difficult, but ultimately worth it. But a good thing? I don't know about all that, man. She wakes up and she gasps in a breath, which is going to happen throughout the rest of the fucking book. And it mentions that all of this is a lot to process for her, especially for someone who has been taught the opposite of emotional regulation skills. So as a person who, listen, I keep coming back to this because I just don't know how this is possible. I have a kid who has deep emotional regulation issues. And let's say he was living in this world and he was a Scorpio. I don't know how my kid is 6 and we've been dealing with this issue since he was about 2.5. And I just don't know how you would get away with children doing this. And that's a really big question I have, is how this world operates in regards to Scorpio children who break the rules. Now, the answer would be kind of dark, but the book should answer it. So they figure out who it was leaving the note. And it turns out it's Atlas Fulbright, the Aries leader. You learned the Scorpio Stellarium's biggest secret. I helped you find the archive. You're welcome. Atlas is supposed to be I know all, and also have quips, and he just comes off at the very least I can say that his character sounds different from the other characters, which is a problem that all the characters kind of sound the same. His sounds different, but I wouldn't say he sounds like a good character, like a well-written character. He kind of comes off I don't know, he's a knockoff of Jeff Goldblum. So they're like, why us? And he says that the Aries Stellarium can't expose the scroll. And the scroll is proof that somehow that one guy who wrote a really long time ago that Blaine, the bad guy, made himself immortal and is making up the Scorpio code as being from the gods. One guy writing this is proof to bring down the entire Scorpio code somehow. I don't know how they would even authenticate such a scroll. You also find out later that this guy Fulbright is also immortal, and I don't know what took him so damn long to produce this scroll. I don't understand what he's been doing all these hundreds of years. He could literally just come out and be like, I'm also immortal, I was there, and the Scorpio code did not come from the gods. Blaine, the other immortal, fucking made it up. I don't know, but Aries, who he's in charge of, can't expose the scroll. That'd be pitting Aries against Scorpio, and we don't want another war on our hands. Ideally, the Scorpio code gets reversed by Scorpio. Easy answer, a Scorpio historian who hates the code and a Libran healer who can read ancient Drixal. I don't understand why you have to do it this way. Why this way? Why is this the only way that we can get why don't you just, that there are Scorpio people who live in hiding, who do not follow the code. Why don't you just, with all the power that you clearly have, find them, rile them up, and get them to seize control of the Scorpio Stellarium from the Scorpios who follow the code for whatever reason. I don't fucking know.
We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas.
So it turns out that Chase can read that one language, Drixal, because he's a Libran healer, and all Libran healers, which is one of the arch powers, all Libran healers can read Drixal. Why? I don't know. Libran healers can automatically read Drixal, Atlas says. I'm quite surprised neither of you knew that. Well, what does anyone in this world know at all? Genuinely asking. He's like, I have my reasons. I want to take down Scorpio Stellarium. I just can't be the one to do it, but you two can wreak havoc. And so they're like, okay, well, if the Libran healers are not all gone, then what about the zodiac turners? Which is another arch power that was brought up in the beginning. Libran healing is apparently a super special kind of healing. He confirms that zodiac turning is still around. Chase is like, well, Libran healing should have also been passed down through genetics, I guess. I don't really understand. So that he's wondering where in his lineage he would have got Libran healing from. This guy just lets them roam around his house. I moved to the bookshelves stocked with fiction, a lot of mysteries, and a few books about miscellaneous magic. What is miscellaneous magic in this context? The book that caught my eye, though, was an out-facing cover with the title Zodiac Turning. So if you didn't guess, Zodiac Turning is what is happening on the cover here, and our main character is the one doing it. Zodiac Turning is when you can literally turn a zodiac wheel and change somebody's zodiac sign.
I thought I was a Pisces. Come on.
So that begs the question, are you literally changing their birth date? And if so, are they somehow older or younger? What if somebody is what if somebody was born on a certain date and they're 18 when you do something, and then suddenly they're 17? Can you make somebody a minor then? Because you can change their birth date. You could get if the rules that are in our world apply here. So let's say, I don't know, if whatever this world's version of a driver's license is, if they're no longer 18 and you change their birthday, now they're in trouble. You see what I'm saying? Did that even make sense? I'm so tired. This is melting my brain. I'm having just as much trouble reviewing this as I had trouble reviewing The Coven. I almost want to phone a friend in to finish this again. I need Natalie's help. Atlas says to Reika, hey, Rowan, your dad, wanted me to give you this. He gives her a compass. Her dad gave this guy a compass, meaning that everybody knows each other. And the question I would be asking at this point is like, why was I not brought into this so that I could know that this was going to happen before it happened? Like, why did you just spring this on me? If you and my dad know each other, why did you just spring this on me? Why didn't you guys just communicate any of this to me? Why did I have to go and get like into a fight with a bunch of people before I found a rectangle, a door, walked into it, found a scroll with a note from you? Like, why did we do it this way if you were already in communication with my dad? The Ares Arctura knew my dad's name. Yeah, and now is the point where you ask, okay, logistically, we could have done this a much more efficient way that did not give me away to the Scorpio Stellarium, thus putting me on the run. But instead, our Jeff Goldblum ass dude over here is like, your sister's waiting for you on the East Trail. You're going to a place called Reika. Reika is going to Reika? Cool. Altarian, a city in town. Have fun. So a lot of this book is just them running around, yippee, and picking up strays along the way. So they run into a girl, and it's the girl on the cover with the white hair. Now, if you recall from chapter 2, we are told that Reika has heterochromia, 2 different color eyes. Well, she runs into a girl with white hair and also heterochromia. She looked familiar, hauntingly familiar. Her deathly intense gaze wasn't new. The sight of strong arms and shoulders, an indication of a well-trained swordswoman, sent terror through me. I'm just thinking of that dog meme. She shoved me back with one push of her sword against mine. I feel like we didn't need to say shove and push, but all right. So she gets into a physical altercation with the white-haired girl on the cover with also heterochromia. Chase walks up. He grabbed the Stellarium member by her shoulders. Despite her intense strength that rendered my sword skills useless, Chase was still taller and broader than she was. His grip on her arm, when did he grab her arm? Halted her movement and gave Avia, oh yeah, the sister's there, time to react, sprinting at the attacker with a spark in her palms. Okay, so at no point does it say that he grabbed her arm. It says he grabbed her by her shoulders, meaning she still has the ability to do movements. You see what I'm saying? She threw her sword down when he retained his hold on her shoulders. So he, I guess at some point, lets go of her arm and she just throws her sword down. Instead of shoving him away to protect herself from crossing the boundary of Conviction Woods, she returned his grasp, dragging him down beyond the lantern. So they all go into Conviction Woods, where anybody who isn't accepted by the Woods is not supposed to go. Guess what? This girl is accepted by the Woods. Enough time had passed for the Woods, capital W, to react to foreign bodies. There were no shadows pulling Chase deeper into the forest. No beasts hunting the Stellarium girl. Oh yeah, this is the moment when Reika, also figures out that Chase can also go into Conviction Woods. She and him never had the conversation that she grew up in Conviction Woods. She's like, you survive here? I've always survived here. I thought I was the only one. I grew up in Conviction Woods with my dad. So did we with our parents, Avia says. So the girl is wearing a Scorpio Stellarium emblem. The white-haired girl is wearing the emblem of the Scorpio Stellarium, but she's not a Scorpio. She has a glyph. And here's where I really started to lose it. She's got the Pisces Aries glyph. Let's look up the word glyph because I don't even know how you determine what somebody is in this. And like, where is the glyph? I don't know. Okay, so it looks like the glyphs are on a coat. So she's wearing an emblem, but she's also wearing a glyph. So it just mentions that people wear glyphs. Okay, sure. I mean, you could just lie, but all right. You could just wear somebody else's glyph, I guess. I don't know. She's got the Pisces Aries glyph. She's a cusp. Chosen convictionist. I don't know what any of that means. What do you mean a cusp? Does that mean that she was born on the day that is like the last day of Pisces season, first day of Aries season? I don't know anything about the zodiac. Is that it? I don't know. And also, that's not explained in this book. I looked up the word cusp. This is the first time it gets used. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know what chosen convictionist means. The Scorpio stellarium must have hired her. Reika, they sent an assassin after you and we just knocked her out. If she's Pisces Aries, then she's being taken advantage of by the Scorpio stellarium. If she's one of their assassins, she made the choice to make money from Scorpio. So Scorpio can hire other... You know what? Never mind. We don't have time. We're only on chapter 9. Yeah, that bodes well, doesn't it? I'm going to be here filming this for the rest of my fucking life. I shudder to think how long the runtime is on this. I don't know yet. You watching this know. Me editing this knows. Me right now in this moment does not know how long this is going to go on. And that's terrifying. So they go to Chase's dad's house, which is in Conviction Woods.
Dad, I told you to stop interrupting me while I'm trying to do things outside. When it's just my personal time.
Don't talk back to your father.
I want to hang out with you and everything. It's cool that you're out here, but just go back inside.
The thing about that is I don't understand. That's it. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand how there's a bunch of people living in Conviction Woods who never run into each other, and how Atlas Fulbright, the guy running Aries, likely knew that both of these people are living in Conviction Woods, never paired them up, and thinks that the best course of action is to talk to their parents behind their back but not communicate anything to the kids, and then just lead the kids on a wild goose chase to go do his bidding instead of just communicating exactly what needs to be done. Help me understand. Again, channel your inner 3-year-old and ask the question, why? Why am I doing it this way? Is there a better way to do this? What other avenues to get to the exact same place are there? What's the most logical scenario? What are the most logical questions for our characters to ask in this moment? It makes your characters look stupid if they're not asking the logical questions. Don't tell me your characters are smart if they're not asking logical questions. They're talking to his dad, and his dad says, of course the Aries Octura got involved. Why wouldn't the Aries Octura get involved? I couldn't understand what he was trying to say. And Avia says, oh, it's sarcasm, Reika, because Reika sometimes needs sarcasm to be explained to her, which I understand, like, Reika is autistic. My son's also autistic, and I have to explain sometimes when people are being sarcastic to my kid. I get that. Chase tells his dad they can't go back to the hub, which I think is the city. Hiding in the woods would be a cowardly move when we have an object that could change what we understand about the war, capital W. And again, I'm just asking, why can't they just always hide in the woods? Why do any of these people even engage with society? But what's funny about this is it says, we have a guest bedroom down the hallway. I'll clean it up. You have a guest bedroom in Conviction Woods where nobody's supposed to live? It says, my hesitation and speculation grew at the mention of a guest bedroom in the woods. Though it was suspicious, we had one too, because our house had existed long before Mom and Dad moved in. My notion of isolation in the woods was in shambles. Well, my understanding of what the fuck is going on is in shambles, so okay. So Reika and them spend the night, fall asleep. That girl is still out there searching for them, obviously, and she can enter Conviction Woods too. And it says, the vivid warmth of a dream seeped into my skin in replacement of my burning magic. I soaked in my surroundings as a spectator, observing an uncontrollable development of a setting fleshing itself out in my subconscious. We don't have time. I'm just going to move on. That is a ridiculous paragraph. She's recalling something that happened to her in her youth when she was still in school. Mom had scolded me the night before to remember to conceal my emotions in school. Her teacher gets mad at her, well, not mad because no emotions in Scorpio. Time slowed as I anticipated the teacher to hold his hand to the door. What? That should say, time slowed as I anticipated the moment the teacher would close the door, leaving me trapped on the other side. So her teacher talks to her about her behavior. I request you to remind me what you and I spoke about 2 days prior. Now, that is, again, a ridiculous sentence. What it should say is, I request that you remind me what you and I spoke about 2 days ago. He wore a black suit, his gray hair and eyes complementing his empty style. The only color in his demeanor was a bright crimson Scorpio glyph on his suit jacket. Now, your demeanor is not your outfit. So it's just used incorrectly. Your demeanor is not your outfit. And that's what's being described here is style, his outfit, his hair, his eyes. Your demeanor is like behavioral signifiers, your motions, your expressions, the way you present yourself, not just your outfit, but like signifiers, like behavioral signifiers. So she's 18 at this point, and it says she's getting in trouble with this dude, and he reeked of musty smoke and ash. And as I spectated the memory memory in the consciousness of my 18-year-old self, I realized he had likely hooked up with an Aries the night before. M-, Scorpio's sexual culture was meant to be our only pleasure in an obediently stale life.
Tommy is a Scorpio, he likes biking, and he's never been laid.
What? First of all, like, the paragraph is so wackadoodle, but also, so I'm really surprised that, like, sexual culture is not also strictly monitored. A snarl wanted to gather in my throat. Oh, the snarl has wants. A snarl wanted to gather in my throat, but I was trapped in the body and memory of my younger self who cowered in the shadow of authority. So then she gets whipped. She already has bruises on her back because she keeps getting in trouble for showing emotion. So at this point she gets whipped. I silently cried as the stinging sensation sank in through the numbness my body attempted to weaponize against the punishment. Oh my God. I fell victim to my thoughts in their war against my instincts, obsessing over why I couldn't pick up the code as easily as others my age. And somebody yells, "Stop! Oh my God, I hate you bastards so fucking much."
We allow these dastardly bastards to master these hazards.
I wish that it would have just said stop, but it's a girl in the room who is now standing up. She was previously sitting watching this happen. I don't know why this happened in this particular room, whatever. Current Reika, watching this memory while she's asleep, recognizes this girl as the white-haired girl who just tried to assassinate her. "I request you to inform me of your identity," the man with the whip said. "Leave her alone," says the white-haired girl. Her hands lit up with light blue magic. "You better back your ass up right now." Okay, this just sounds so goofy. "Your disrespect will be reported to the Aries Stellarium," the teacher warned. And the white-haired girl, her name's Nara. Okay, this is Nara. We're just gonna call her Nara. Nara says the Aries won't do anything about it. She didn't blink an eye or resemble a hint of fear. So I don't think resembles the right word here. I think that you probably meant to say, like, present a hint of fear. Resemble, it just doesn't, it's like, there's a lot of cases of, like, the lines are all fucked up in this, but there's, like, different ways in which they're fucked up. Overuse of prepositions, use of the wrong prepositions, use of the wrong words, double use of adjectives, use of things that inherently, like, cancel each other out. In fact, the word inherently is one such example. So there's one point where it says Avia inherently rarely feared something. That doesn't work. It sounds like an oxymoron. Like, if you think about it, you could, like, mental gymnastics your way to understanding it, but it just sounds incorrect because most of the time inherently and rarely don't work right next to each other. And then there's a lot of cases where almost the right word is used and, like, technically it could work, but we were definitely going for a different word. And this is one of those places. Wait, now it's saying that she's 13? I don't know. So I guess this happened when she was 13, but then it also said that she was 18. I don't know. That might be a case of I'm misunderstanding, which is bound to happen. So then her and Nara walk away from this whipping. Apparently she, like, didn't tell her mom about this, which I don't understand the setup here. 13 years old, hand in hers, I was uncovering a piece of my own self that had been smothered for unknown reasons. A gentle, prepared electric magic. Prepared? Okay. A gentle, prepared electric magic tingled my fingertips, emitting a barely audible hum. In minutes, it dissipated, disappearing into my skin and leaving its ghost as an ache in my arms. I don't even understand what the fuck we're saying at this point.
You know, you're really cute, but I don't know what you're saying. Say the first thing again.
So at this point, Chase, Avia, and Reika head to Societal Union, which is Leo, Aquarius, and Gemini, which is like a really, I don't know, they're in like a really beautiful city, and they are come upon by a girl. She was beautiful, black skin with a gold undertone and bright, shining sapphire eyes, thick hair somewhere between curly and wavy extended past her shoulders to the middle of her back, her hands soaked with either water or sweat. The Scorpio Stellarium has been everywhere in this city for days, waiting to ambush you. Her entire demeanor was fascinating for someone who grew up in a continental forest. She wore a necklace of seashells contrasting with her dark tone. So again, we're using demeanor to mean outfit. Her name is Kaya. She is a Cancer, girl same, and she's a water mage. Kaya's like, "I know you. My brother was a Scorpio. He told me about how you protected him from the Stellarium a year ago." And Reika's like, "I have absolutely no memory of this ever happening." She said, "Yeah, you and Nara were the ones to protect him," and Nara is the white-haired girl. So now she's realizing her and the girl who's now trying to assassinate her knew each other and they were doing some stuff together. You and Nara had masks to hide your identities from the Stellarium. So the masks looked like this. So they would like put on masks and go do stuff against the Stellarium. But the problem is that the Stellarium already knew that Reika was fucking up and doing stuff to break the code. Like she got whipped and beaten at school. So like if somebody is running around doing stuff, then like she's suspect number one. And of course, Kaya just happens to be the Libra leader's daughter. Everybody's just interconnected. So the Libra Stellarium is also on their side, which begs the question, if both Aries and Libra are sending kids to do this stuff, why didn't they just make a network and create a plan and rope everybody in and make a coherent, cohesive plan that you would then carry out instead of just sending kids in blind to do some shit that they don't really understand what's going on?
I'm with stupid. Yeah, I'm with stupid. You're both idiots.
And by the way, these people have all the answers. Like Atlas has all the answers. And he just didn't tell them for reasons. And of course, Reika's having trouble with her emotions again. And it says, not too often in my life had empathy fought with my survival instinct, the same survival instinct that wanted to subconsciously listen to the code to tell me to hush my emotion. I let it go. Okay. They explain that they have a scroll that claims that Calexis, the sword, is real and the code is a lie. Again, the code is not a lie. The code is a mandate. It's a bad rule, but the origin of it, who mandated it, that is the lie. And I think that it's important to specify that. Because again, you wouldn't say thou shalt not steal is a lie. You would say that it's like it's a mandate, but who said it? Like if we're gonna say, well, God didn't say that, some random dude did, that's the lie, right? The who of it, not the what. Reika and Chase have a moment where Chase protects her from being seen by guards or whatever, and she like is like repulsed by this.
Still sick. I was worried about you. I wanted to come by and nurse you back to health.
Yeah, no.
Felt a little heavy-handed in the way that we wrote this, but he's like, I'm so sorry, I should have asked before touching you. The guilt remained God, I'm so fucking tired. The guilt remained written all over his face. I'm sorry, I have to make this clear. I don't have feelings for you, but genuinely appreciate you as a friend, she said. I don't want you or anyone else to interpret our actions the wrong way. And it's like, well, like, who cares? You guys are on the run. Like, who cares how you're interpreted? My instincts wanted to run away. Your instincts wanted to run away?
What the hell are you talking about?
Or your instincts made you want to run away. But the thought of losing him as a friend stirred a wrenching feeling deep within my chest. You guys are friends? Didn't you just meet? Of Kaya, the newcomer, it says, for someone with an outwardly soft and elegant appearance, the way her voice spiked with resentment each time she spoke the Stellarium's name told an entirely different story of a fierce personality with a raging determination. Again, it's like honestly hard to read these things out loud. Every paragraph just has so many excess words that don't feel like normal sentence structure, and also I'm dyslexic, so that's like part of it. I already have trouble reading things in general. Like, you guys have seen me do this before. And often I say the wrong word because I literally am like mixing it up on the screen. But the problem here is just like not just my dyslexia, but the writing itself. I really need to download a dyslexic font on my computer. So they have Kaya join them. So now they are a foursome, which is where this art from my copy of the book came from. So they are off to see the wizard, the wonderful never mind. Chase and Kaya shake hands, and when they shake hands, there's a flare of gold. So I guess they are specials. So then they are come upon by Verina who is wearing a thin, scarlet outlined raven cloak with gilded gold designs draped over her shoulders and cascaded to the floor. Oh my god. I am Verina Arki, the Scorpio Arctura, so she leads Scorpio. To my understanding, you have broken the Scorpio code and trespassed upon societal territory. Now, she's broken the Scorpio code before and has not met Verina, so I don't really understand what's happening here. I looked my enemy in the eyes, the same person who'd given me a torturous childhood, the same person responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths, the same person who knew that it wasn't justifiable. Okay, so in that case, I just don't really understand why the rest of Scorpio complies with this and why there isn't like a revolution, a bunch of people who are already working on trying to get rid of the people in charge of Scorpio?
Oh, well, I tried to start a revolution but didn't print enough pamphlets, so hardly anyone turned up.
It's my moral and rightful duty to seek truthful knowledge of Scorpio's history, Reika says. There is no founded excuse to negate breaking the Scorpio code. What? Oh boy. There is no founded excuse to negate breaking the Scorpio code.
What the hell are you talking about?
Verina says, that sentence makes no fucking sense. The word founded, the word negate, they both just don't work. Like, I understand what you're saying, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that the way you said it is illogical. I don't even know why you would type those words in this. You could just erase them. Like, there was no reason to write them at all. There is no excuse to break the Scorpio code. Period. There you go. Why do we add so many extra words that are wrong, like incorrect? I swallowed the memories that flashed back to me at the feeling evoked from her expressionless face. Oh boy. Verina extended her hand to me, a neglect of a choice I didn't have in the eyes of the stellarium. Again, neglect, it doesn't work there. I understand what's trying to be said, but you said it with words that simply don't fit. They're just like shoved in here, and it's like, it's sort of like, have you ever played Metal Gear Solid? Like, you're playing this game and randomly these little frogs pop up and you're like, that doesn't really make sense here, but we're just gonna allow it because it's kind of funny. It's not funny here. Like, it's just popping up and it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's not funny. It just is wackadoodle. Chase took a step closer to me. His demeanor completely changed as he stood tall with a fierce glare at Verina. That is the correct use of demeanor. As much as I appreciate your gracious request, I know how you treat those who disobey, and you do it for the power trip, says Reika. I'm starting to forget our main characters. It doesn't help that our main character is Reika, and now we have a side character named Kaya, and also her sister's name is Avia, and now we have somebody named Verina. They all ended and I'm starting to lose it. Verina says, this pattern of outbursts has led to the becoming of a disloyal member of our people. Oh boy, you are not mentally sound. I'm more mentally sound than you, that's for sure, Reika says. The code was a lie made to torment Scorpio. Then Kaya yelled suddenly, you murdered my brother. Then they tell Verina that they have a scroll that says that the Scorpio code was created in the War of the Rebalancing to manipulate and control Scorpio. Are you wondering what the War of Rebalancing is? Don't worry, we'll get a wild way of getting explained later. The Scorpio Stellarium is aware of this and continuously ignores it to keep Scorpio in power. Anything else you'd like me to say to ruin your reputation? You are insane, Miss Spring. Your scroll is simply fake. And that's the thing is, couldn't they just say that it's fake? Like, what, again, is ensuring the validity of this scroll? Now we find out that none of the leaders of the signs disclose their power to the people of Guardian in the name of equality. I don't understand how that makes people equal. She's like, fight me then. I had been muzzled before. Screams muffled by sandpaper stuffed into my mouth and raked over my wet eyes. What? I bled sorrow and fury infused into my veins from sentences I hadn't said. What? They get into a fight with enemies. Reika punches one of them in the chest. The culminating magic in my veins shot out. The man was blasted backward into the wall as a zodiac wheel illuminated before him, quickly twisting from Scorpio to Sagittarius. Behind us, blurs of the two women in black were in our pursuit. That's a wonky way to say that. So then they run up to a cliff, they jump off, Kaya's water magic guides them safely down to the bottom.
You're gonna drink out of that?
We are gonna drink out of it.
We're gonna smash our teeth out.
We're gonna get wet.
Why'd you say
Kaya's like, you're a zodiac turner? And she says, not to my knowledge. Zodiac turning hasn't existed for centuries. Why you? The Scorpio code might have halted you from catching it earlier if it's an emotion-based magic. The reason that it broke free was because she angrily punched somebody. So she just never got angry enough to make her real power come out, and she's been doing shift-shaping. I'm getting tired. Shape-shifting clothing all this time. By the way, if you're wondering when that's going to pop up again, the answer is never. How come you have the magic? Her sister asked. All right, let's freeze. Why do you think? You guys are half sisters. Why do you think? Do the math. Go on. The other half maybe? The other half might be involved. We have the same parents, Avia. No, you don't. Why does it say that? You know you don't. You know that that's not your dad, biologically. They would have told us if they knew anything about this. Would they? And then right after this, I mean, you do have a missing biological father. Okay, then you know why. Then you know why she has the magic. And I don't know why the sentence before this says we have the same parents. No, you literally fucking don't. You literally fucking don't have the same parents. Why did we even type that? Just to be clear, mom's never mentioned anything about your dad, even just to you. And what's so funny about this is that before this, she's thinking, where from my lineage, where was there a zodiac turner? The answer felt like it should have been close, barely in reach, yet just out of my fingertips, which is a wonky ass way to say that because it's sounding like it's two different things because you said yet, but it's the same thing, barely in reach and just out of my fingertips. Not yet, and. And what answer is that? The answer to why do I have zodiac turning magic? Gee, I don't fucking know. Maybe it has to do with the fact that you don't know who your dad is. Huh. Oh my God, what a fucking concept. You've got to be, like, you cannot tell me that your main character is smart if she just like suddenly forgets how to put two and two together. Where in my lineage would zodiac turning have come from? I can't think of it. It feels just out of reach. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of your tongue that you don't know who your father is?
Took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% that bitch.
You're getting like a 4-minute timeout for that.
Christ on a cracker. So then her assassin with the white hair and also heterochromia shows up and she's like, hey, I know you. Nara says, then tell me who I am. Verina couldn't kill you herself, not in front of societalists, not with a magic she must hide. It's my turn. And then she lets her go after fighting with her a little bit, saying, I'll let you win this time because I want to see you burn, which is convenient. I don't understand why she let her go because she literally is like tasked with turning her in or killing her. Okay, so then they get chased by a Scorpio Stellarium member who has a rare form of animal magic, which I didn't know was a fucking thing, that allowed him to summon the spirits of deceased animals, which is really fucking cool. Way cooler to summon the spirits of deceased dogs in a Lotso Way by Darcy Little Badger. Absolute banger of a book where the main character can summon deceased animals, including but not limited to dogs and a woolly mammoth. Banger of a book. Read this instead. Oh, I always forget that it's got foiling. Oh, it's such a good book. And also this hardcover is like this is like the super hard hardcover. This is quality shit. Inside and out, A Lotso Way is just quality shit. Unless you ask Bruce Friedman, resident county book banner of Clay County, Florida, who said that it was woke vampire bullshit. Yeah, fuck you, Bruce. Eat shit, dog. If you're here because you like watching my more popular videos, please go watch my book banning videos because those are way more important. And also, thousands of books are banned in Florida. Fuck you, Bruce. So she keeps getting flashbacks to her and Nara being together. Oh, they get away from dog guy, from ghost dog guy. She keeps having flashbacks to her and Nara being together, and Nara calls her Kira, which is really confusing to me, and I thought that there would be an answer for this, but it's just that she just switched around the letters on Reika's name. Okay. Oh, I think that the dog guy was actually chasing her. Oh, that's right. The dog guy was chasing her and Nara in a flashback scene. They get away, and he gets killed. And then she's like, I just killed someone. Nara's like really upset about that. And she tells her, you had no choice. I told myself I'd never kill anyone. I don't want to be like them. And then in the present, she's like, I'll kill people for the Scorpio Solarium. So you're supposed to be like, oh, how'd she get here? They got on a ship, the four of them. It ended up crashing. They're on their way to the city Reika, if you recall. Rika's going to Reika. Their boat crashes. Chase has to heal some of them.
I was worried about you. I wanted to come by and nurse you back to health.
Yeah, no.
And so we're learning more about Libran healing, and they recall that Atlas Fulbright told them that there are at least 6 zodiac turners. They don't know how many Libran healers there are. Chase's Libran healing allows him to full body scan people. Your ribs, hips, and legs are broken. I need to clear your lungs and repair bones. This is the part where they find out that Kaya was a cryptic pregnancy, and so was, I think, Reika? I was also cryptic, I get it. Bruh, How are this many cryptic pregnancies happening? That's like pretty rare. Anyways, after a long day of traveling through dark caverns with an ease of tension in the group, we stepped into a large cavern. What? Reika has a flashback to another thing that happened to her that she conveniently forgot. And she's yelling at one of the Scorpio supervisor people, "I won't be your echo. I won't be a mother to children you breed from us." Wait, so are they breeding Scorpios? "I won't fall underneath the Stellarium's control, and nothing you can do will ever take that away from me. I won't be your bitch." This feels so wackadoodle. "You will not disobey," the supervisor started as he reached to his belt, "if you cannot remember your reason to do so." What? So her memories got erased at that point, and I think they made Nara do it. And then she sort of has like a freak out where she uses her Scorpio turning, the zodiac turning, the zodiac, that's not Scorpio, the zodiac turning ability, and she accidentally changes Chase's sign to Scorpio.
And I'm Spider-Man. You're no Spider-Man. He's a Leo. You're a Sagittarius.
And so this allows him to, for a bit, experience feelings as a Scorpio feels them. Everything feels so much more intense. I can't believe how many emotions you must feel all at once. She explains, "I'm having flashbacks and I'm not sure when or how, but they'd caught me breaking the code. They held a knife to my throat. They threatened my life, and they made my memories get erased." And so then she changes his sign back. Then they realize that Kaya also has one of the special arch power magics, I think. A ripple of sapphire magic raced through her veins, spreading across the surface of her arm as a transparent aura of a night sky coated her skin. Transparent aura of a night sky. She realizes now that she is like really happy being around them. And it says, "I vowed to never again follow the second law of the Scorpio code." But you already thought of Chase as your good friend, so that's already like out the window. And also like your sister is kind of your friend, like that has always been out the window. Like this is not like some powerful moment of, "I reject the Scorpio code." You've always rejected the Scorpio code. You have had friends. Okay, so now they're in Ascidian territory, and it says that for some reason, I don't even recall what, I just highlighted this and my note just says, "What the utter and actual fuck does this mean? My muscles weakened and dampened as a lethargic energy devoured me whole." Lethargy and energy next to each other feels like an oxymoron. You could just say, "as lethargy devoured me." You didn't need to say a lethargic energy, just say lethargy. Why are we adding in so many words, winding ourselves up into a situation where it's like an oxymoron? They all wake up and they had been placed in a wooden hut raised off the ground made of white reeds. Is the ground made of reeds or is the hut made of reeds? I don't know. Standing in front of the door was a woman with pale skin and braided blonde hair that was so light that I first thought it was white. And of course, she's wearing a long ombre cloak. This is like the third or fourth time that the word ombre has been used in this. The obsession with ombre in this book is like just hilarious. Long ombre cloak matching the outlines of her clothing draped over her shoulders with the Leo Virgo glyph and assiduous union emblem embroidered onto the face of the fabric. You get all that? Me neither. Her name is Sora, and she lets them know that they are in the village of Reika. Hooray! They've arrived at their destination. She's like, "How did you even get here?" And they say, "We don't know. We were thrown off a waterfall, went through a cave system, and here we are." "Why are there Autarians," one group of people, "in the middle of Ascidian territory?" they ask. Sora says, "You will be shocked at the truths lying dormant in these mountains." So her and some other guy who lives here in Reika are talking, and they're talking in like the different languages. The languages have barely come up, and we are 61% into this book. I don't know which is which or why I should care. I am looking for a reason to, and I'm not not finding it. Chase lets them know that they're looking for the Colexis, and to be honest, I fucking forgot that that's what we were even doing at this point, was looking for the goddamn sword. Because if we find the sword, then it proves that the Scorpio code is not true somehow. I forget how exactly, but also like, how would you even prove that it's the Colexis? Are you gonna poke somebody with it and turn them immortal? Be like, "Look, the sword's real." And somehow this means that the gods did not make the Scorpio code. I don't know. She says, "It lies under Reika in a tunnel system. Since it was returned to its cavern, the caves beneath us have killed anyone who has attempted to locate it." And Chase says, "You believe in its existence?" Bro, you just heard her say that it was returned and now the caves kill people. Of course she believes in its existence. The Calexis was returned to the caves to protect the artifact and uphold the true history of the war. We have since placed magical barriers to protect outsiders from entering Reika. And Chase is like, yeah, but the Ares Arctura sent us here. He literally told us to come here is what it says. He literally told us to come here. Sora says, oh, so Kaya then, you're a spirit walker, the third archpower. Libran healers were killed in the war because spirit walkers cannot access their magic unless they come in contact, shouldn't that be into contact? Who cares? With a Libran healer. So that explains why when these two shook hands, gold magic appeared. Spirit walkers were our connection to the astral realm, and when you are a stellarium enforcing a fabricated law meant to be from the gods, you do not want individuals communicating with those same divinities. Okay, but isn't it that you know what, never mind. There's a third archpower. So spirit walkers inherently understand one of the old languages and Libran healers inherently understand the other one. And it just so happens that the three of these people who magically came into contact with each other are the three different archpowers: spirit walker, Libran healer, and zodiac turning. Wow. What an incredibly convenient situation. So nobody understands that one language because spirit walking died out, I guess. So they get to stay in a spare house in Reika, which they just have. And while Reika is asleep, Nara, the white-haired girl, comes to her and says, I will kill you for what you did to me. Go ahead and try. You have no idea how much pain you put me through. Where are you? She pushed down on me with such a force that a sickening crack came from my right shoulder. I yelled as a slicing pain tore through me. Agony pierced my upper body. That feels like a lot of words to say the same thing. Then Nara feels bad for hurting Reika, but then says, you'll understand soon why I'm doing this, and it'll break you more than anything ever has. Ask yourself who you are. Now, if I heard this and there were mysteries about myself, I would wonder if they were maybe connected. Like, I don't know who my fucking father is. But nope, not Reika. She doesn't ask the logical questions, which is my biggest pet peeve with main characters, is if they don't ask the logical questions, I get annoyed with them real fucking quickly. If you don't catch up to your reader, you're just exhausting to read. So when she wakes up, she's like, I'm having all these memories. I don't know what's going on. They made Nara make me forget because I broke the full code, and they sent her to kill me because I'm trying to change the law. And I'm like, how did they even know that you... Never mind. And Kaya tells Reika it's not insane to want revenge and justice against a system that took your humanity from you. So be angry and be scared, because that's exactly how you've made it this far. I glanced over at the door. A nervous shiver through me. A nervous shiver did what? A nervous shiver what through you? Ran through you? And of course, her sister Avia is like, you're not telling me about all this stuff with Nara, and everybody just demonizes Avia, even though Avia kind of has a fucking point, because Reika withholding information from them could hinder the process of keeping them safer, getting them to where they need to go faster. But it's fine, whatever, we'll just shit on Avia because Reika can do no wrong. So then they go in the city of Reika to a temple, essentially. Kaya is wearing an ocean blue coat, a new coat. They gave her a new coat with ornate wave designs hand painted across its surface. I guess they just had this laying around, who knows. Accented by the same luxurious white fur hood. Her tie was a deep blue, matching her pants and fuzzy boots. Her thick hair was braided back in a single braid. Embellished with beads in an array of shades of blue. You could just say embellished with beads in shades of blue. We didn't need to say in an array of shades of blue. See what I'm saying? Inside the temple is a massive statue of a woman with her legs crossed, and there's like water pouring. The source of the water was unclear, likely magical, pouring from the middle of a vibrant, hand-painted, intricate mural that spanned across every inch of the walls, from the sandy floor to the apex of the dome. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to be picturing here. And of course, who painted the mural? Sora, the lady who was immediately nice to them. And then the painting, a lavender aura rippled over it, and the scenes jumped to life. And then a story is told to them about the origin of the world. Wait, no. The origin of the history. The history is told to them. The story begins 300 years ago when immortality began to disrupt the flow of life and death within Guardian, dictated who was in power. Matthias went in search of our sacred Colexis to take immortality from Guardian. Materializing in front of Matthias was the god of the sun. Were you wondering about the deities? Me too. Guess how much you're going to learn about them? Basically jack shit. Materializing in front of Matthias was the god of the sun, and with an extension of his hands, it just sounds like we're adding an extra hand onto the hand. A blend of blindingly bright divine blessings seeped into Matthias's heart through his golden veins. The sun leaned over to whisper in his ear, and an image of the Colexis appeared above his head. We're at 66%, and like the deities not being mentioned up to this point or coming on page, that's a pretty foundational piece of this world. And yet, like, how do the common people like worship the gods? Like, what is their relationship to this religion other than the Scorpios and the Scorpio code? Have I been saying scorpion? I've probably been saying scorpion this video, haven't I? I'm really tired. This is draining the utter fucking life out of me. The Colexis lodged in the ground before the two of them, shadowed by a hell-bent beast. A hell-bent beast? What does that mean? What does a beast being hell-bent mean? Like, hell-bent means constantly striving for, essentially. Did hell bend a beast? How did it bend it? A slender, scaly creature contorting in the mist, its features not completely clear in the magical illustration. So you can tell that it's slender and scaly and hell-bent, but its features are also not clear. You can make out scales, but it's not clear. After this Colexis was returned to the caves, immortality could only be gained by an infliction from the Colexis. What? An infliction? Like a poke? Or do you just touch it? Do you have to have your whole arm chopped off? What are we doing? The Merricks would go down in history as heroes. Matthias and Mari sought to pass their legacy on to the next generation. So then there's two Zodiac Turner brothers, Matthias and somebody, I think. Between an old growth forest and the sea, a small village sat on the cliffs of the southernmost point of the conviction autarkic border. I just wanted to point out the amount of like prepositions in that phrase, essentially. Between, on, of, wait, no, of isn't. Oh, I'm so fucking tired. I'm losing it. Okay, so they see Blaine, the guy who made the Scorpio code, yeah, and an Aries woman laughing together in the shade of Conviction Woods. And immediately I was like, oh, Blaine, that must be her dad. Guess who was right? Me. So I don't really understand what this is saying, but it says Blaine's passion and love were smothered by Guardian's admiration for the Merricks. Blaine is shown to have heterochromatic eyes, which I don't understand how we can tell he has heterochromatic eyes if also it was like mentioned previously that the vision isn't clear, but okay. So then Blaine got jealous of Silas Merrick, who was the son of Matthias Merrick, the sword guy, and an Aries woman. During Conviction's political tensions between the Merricks and Blaine, a group of Scorpio Zodiac Turners, a troop commanded by Silas, and Gemini border guards were found dead in the hub.
He's a Gemini. Just because I don't care if he's an alien.
What? So the Woods were having political tensions? Just the Woods? Conviction Woods specifically was having political tensions? I don't know. A bunch of people fucking died, and then the image of Blaine triumphed over the chaos of Guardian's anger. That sentence is wackadoodle. Each yell sunk into Blaine's body, his society's fury against his own Scorpio leader mother seeping and pouring into him, his face contorted in emotion. Which emotion? I don't know. So Silas Merrick, the immortal guy, married the Aries woman, and Blaine got really jealous. In his blinding anger, Blaine tried to murder her to stop her from becoming an Aries heir. Silas set a curse to force Blaine away from the Aries woman, which killed Blaine's mother, who was in charge of Scorpio. Silas Merrick, the son of a hero, killed the Scorpio leader with his Zodiac turning magic. Guardian began to despise Zodiac Turners for their power. So a curse killed Blaine's mother. I don't really understand like what specifically happened with the curse, but like, can any of y'all just like accidentally do stuff that kills people? Like, does that never happen? It only happened with zodiac turners? Anyway, Blaine, also a zodiac turner, changed his sign to Leo to hide his zodiac turning.
I've had people when they'll be like, what's your sign? I'm like, Leo. They're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Leos are often described as having a regal air and
Damn
a
right.
commanding roar.
Hell yeah.
Show us your roar.
Then zodiac turners were eradicated, and Blaine advocated for eradicating Libran healers and spirit walkers. He claimed that Libran healing, like immortality, would be used to gain power in the government. The healers fell to the grave sites they were meant to prevent, as Blaine looked to the stars with a smile. Without healers, the same stars were torn from the hands and hearts of cancer. Wow. So Silas is then made immortal by his dad, Matthias. The reason this is so confusing is because it's being told to us through a story that's being like projected onto a ceiling or something. And we have never seen these people on the page, so we have no real idea what's going on. It's very removed from the audience. And then Blaine also stole immortality from the Colexis. And at this point I was asking, okay, so the Colexis's power is not finite. The sword does infinite immortality. In that case, is it really stealing? Can you steal something if it just like makes it infinitely? I guess, but I mean, what's the problem? Blaine lied of a holy law. That doesn't make any sense. It should be Blaine lied about a holy law. Blaine lied regarding a holy law. Blaine made claims of a holy law. He said to have discovered in the Scorpio archive, hidden by his Scorpio leader mother, a code of which the sun and moon gave to Scorpio, one to prevent a war from ever happening again, a promise to protect Guardian's delicate balance. Silas returned to Reika 300 years ago. He placed the Colexis back in its original location, Reika, the city, devoted to protecting the Colexis and upholding the truth of Guardian's history. So does Scorpio have like a huge army with which they could like destroy Reika? Don't they know that Reika's there? Like, what's stopping them from just going and invading? Or like camping outside? The zodiac turning needed regulation, not eradication. The damage remained. We have accepted that this cannot be reversed by the village, but set right only by someone meant to break this curse. Wait, what curse? Oh god. The story finished Sora's last sentence. What? She had answered each and every question I'd had about Guardian's history. When? Did I miss it? I had been right all those years. The War of the Rebalancing had been reduced down to part myth, part manipulated truth. How did you know that? How did you know that? Why were you looking all your life for that information? How did you know that it was part myth, part fabrication, or whatever? Jesus. Part myth, part manipulated truth. Oh, Lord. I wasn't comprehending why the burden of zodiac turning and reversing a major historical belief had been placed on me. Bitch, me neither. I don't understand either.
You're both idiots.
And Chase says, what we were taught, it doesn't make much sense now that I think about it. You must be kidding me. Reika says, if you look close enough, you can begin to bring blurs of history into clarity. Once again, my Google Doc is telling me that this is wrong. It should be bring the blurs of history. But even then, like, the sentence is weird and should be redone. Like, sure, like, you could say it that way, but there's still an even better way to say it, which is rewriting the whole sentence. Chase and Reika decide to fuck off to the forest, and they're talking, and then suddenly there's a noise. Did you hear that? Hear what? And then they notice that there are gash marks etched into the trunk, carved by claws of a creature large enough to scare animals away. Chase slowly turned to me. It's not safe, Chase says to her. And they're like, would the village have lied to us? Would they know if it's something that just got here? This is a weird dialogue to have. So then the creature shows up. Oh my god. I'm so tired that words have lost all meaning. Meaning? See? Okay, I'm gonna try to read this. The shape began to transform and split as it lumbered from behind a tree. One still white paw first, then the next. Spirals of black smoke spat from each step as its shape materialized from a mirrored monochromatic shadow. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to be picturing at mirrored monochromatic shadow, but okay. Icy blue eyes opened above its snout, and any courage I had escaped my body. It was transforming like a beast of Conviction Woods, making itself the worst version it could be to terrorize the two of us. A pink forked tongue exposed itself as the creature opened its half canine, half draconic mouth. Its fur popped and sizzled as its shape couldn't decide on scales or fur. We didn't need to say fur twice. One of its back legs was a talon. What? It was just sitting on a talon? Horns curling out of its head, its tail a terrible concoction of patches of fur and slithering scaly length. What? I couldn't bring myself to call the beast a dragon. Well, yeah, that makes sense, seeing as how it doesn't fucking remotely sound like a dragon. I blinked twice. The setting screamed into a blur of color and action. I don't know if that's the right way to use scream. Either way, there's a better way to write that. So the fucking creature's talking to her now, and it's saying, "It will devour you, the metaphysical before the physical." I don't know what it's talking about. "But child, I am not your greatest nightmare. You are your own greatest nightmare, and with the passing of time, I am allowing you a blessing. Your death will inevitably grant life to those you love." I don't know why we were talking about the passing of time. I couldn't fight it anymore, sinking into its hypnotic words. Hypnotic? You're hypnotized by confusion? Not me. So claws tear into her skin, and then I don't know where Chase was during all this. I just didn't write it down. But then the monster craned its neck, book's words, to Chase, and Chase's dagger is piercing into its neck, I guess. Chase's voice was barely distant in the background. It was barely distant in the background? His hands pressed down to her stomach, healing and absorbing into her. His hands absorbed into her? Chase's body folded as his eyes rolled backward. A foot rested on his arm as he tried to struggle. This was confusing because I thought his eyes rolling backward meant that he passed out, but then the next sentence is he's struggling. And the creature's dead, but now Nara's there. Nara takes them captive, and Chase is like, "Reika's gonna die unless you let me heal her. How did you bypass the town's protections?" And she says, "Well, Reika's magical shields have used the same enchantment since they were cast 300 years ago. They are designed to allow certain bloodlines into the village, and all three of us happen to be part of those." Wait a second. We're about to find out that Reika is Blaine's daughter. I don't know that Blaine knows he has a daughter or not, but wouldn't he want to make a daughter that could enter the village that he's trying to get into? Wouldn't he raise a specific child to go get the Colexis so that he could keep it, so that there is no proof that he somehow... Oh my god, I'm starting to lose my train of thought. I'm losing it. I don't think I've ever taken this much psychic damage from a book before. She can make like sparks of electricity, and they ask her how, and she says, "Cusp zodiac turning mimics a storm." So because she was born on the cusp of two signs and is a zodiac turner, she can mimic a storm? I don't get it. Anyway, she knocks out Chase, and then she laughingly tells Reika that Chase is her brother. That's right, Nara and Chase are siblings. And what is Rika's response to this? "That's nice." What? I wasn't sure how to react or what else to say. Okay, well, "that's nice" is an odd choice. So Nara's like, "Why do you think that you're a zodiac turner? Like, how'd you end up being a zodiac turner? What does that have to do with anything?" I mean, okay, maybe my dad? I don't know. Atlas did say there were at least 6 zodiac turners. My mom refuses to talk to me about my biological father. And she's like, "Oh, so Atlas is helping you." Of course he is. He led you to the scroll that his brother wrote. Yep, I don't know how she knows about the scroll, but okay. And she says, "So Chase and I, our father is Silas Merrick." So Silas, if you'll recall, was with an Aries woman, and that Aries woman is Sora, the lady that just told them the story. So Silas and Sora had 2 kids, Nara and Chase. Okay, so here's what we're working with so far. Does it matter? Probably not. But then also Matthias had another son, which was Atlas. Silas and Atlas, both immortals. See? So at some point, Atlas also got turned immortal. Atlas is the forgotten brother, omitted from the myths our family was made into. Our mother is an immortal too, Sora Merrick. And all 3 of them are zodiac turners. Wow, how unbelievably convenient. Reika says, "I have a scroll written by Silas about the code's lies, and they're fucking using his daughter as a weapon against me?" Nara's like, "I have to stop you before you instigate another uprising." She says that she wasn't raised by her parents, that they were forced to separate because of a curse that Blaine put on them. Again, who can do curses and how? Is it the immortals? Is that it? I don't fucking know. So this curse that Blaine put on her parents, if Silas and Sora are near each other, Chase and I will feel the consequences. Rika's like, okay, if you weren't raised by your parents, then who were you raised by? She remembers that Reika mentioned, or that Nara mentioned, how much she hated the man she lived with, how she was surprised he even left her food when he disappeared for a few days, and that he cursed her to leave her in the woods while he was gone. And I'm like, so Blaine knew Rika's mom, obviously boinked Rika's mom, had a daughter with Rika, with Rika's mom, which was Reika. I feel drunk at this point. He can enter the woods, and yet a bunch of people are living there. What is going on? Chase and I were raised together until I was 3 and he was 5. He's 2 years older than me. Yes, thank you, I can do math. Blaine found our parents in a town on the conviction autarkic border and put the curse on them when he learned they had children. Blaine kidnapped me when I was 13 and cursed them away from me. And she's like, and Blaine created the Scorpio code and he's your father. So you understand that Blaine created the Scorpio code and he's a person who cursed your own parents, and yet you think that somehow this girl that you're after will instigate an uprising and you're gonna continue to go after her. I don't understand what's happening. It turns out that she was cursed, but like I don't understand how a curse made her believe that Reika would instigate an uprising. I can't even do words anymore. I'm losing it. My father couldn't stop yours. It's my turn to stop you. But like, you're working for the Scorpio Stellarium to stop her, and the Scorpio Stellarium is run by the guy who your father couldn't stop. Oh my god, I'm so confused. So then Reika freaks out at finding out that her dad is Blaine. I choked on air. You choked on air. Clawing at my thighs, just like that. As the world collapsed on top of me, it was my fault. Everything. Chase was knocked out somewhere around the corner. My body was torn and scarred forever. Okay, so first of all, choked on air could obviously use some work. Second of all, homegirl just found out that her dad's a bad person, and she's like, oh, my dad's a bad person who's 300 years old? Everything's my fault. Bitch, what?
You know what, Joe? Our fathers don't love us. What the heck?
And what the fuck are we jumping to? Everything's my fault. Chase is knocked out. You didn't knock him out. The girl who your dad kidnapped is. The fuck is that your fault for? She's like, do it. Kill me now if that's what you want, Nara. And then right after this, she's like, a year ago, the Stellarium held a knife to my throat and forced you to take my memories of you. Forced you to take my memories of you. Oh! In front of everything we were afraid of, you told me you loved me. Horror flashed across Nara's expressions. Expressions with an S. All of them. All of her expressions. Horror flashed across all of them. Awesome. I wouldn't have been tortured by the Stellarium if I hadn't loved you. You knew the risk, Reika says. You are being used as a weapon against a person you loved. Wake up, Nara, before you become the reason we lose our second chance. This feels weird to be talking about second chances, coming from someone who just yelled, kill me a bunch of times, but okay. She notices that there's like a pain and a glowing in Nara's chest. She leaned down to cough up blood, and then she makes Reika pass out. Reika has another flashback where her and Nara are talking about the fact that Rowan, Rika's dad, is coming home that night, and she hasn't told her mom about all the shit that she's been dealing with the Scorpio Stellarium, and she's gonna tell her dad about Nara. In the summer heat, we kissed with the intensity of a connection I could barely fathom as possible. Ugh, oh my god, every sentence is so bad. They tell each other that they love each other, and then Nara says, next time someone lays a hand on you, I will tear them apart with my bare hands. And of course, now she is the one, beating the shit out of Reika, essentially. When Reika wakes up in present, Nara lets Chase heal her. Chase was like, hey, before you, knock me the fuck out, you were talking about someone being related. And now Nara's changing her tune and being like, Reika, he can't know. I can't explain why. So then they notice that there's like metal in Nara's chest, and Reika uses light magic, I guess she has. I don't know. At the touch of my light, it frosted over, so intensely cold that it seared my hand. And they make this thing in Nara's chest explode, and that was a curse. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I could only feel anger. The pendant, it was an artifact from the war, cursed to weaponize one soldier to kill the other. How did I release you from that? I stumbled over my words. No, you didn't. You said that perfectly fine. The stumbling has happened a lot in my summation, and that wasn't it. You wanted to save my life, Nara said. Zodiac turners can reverse curses if they use their magic with the opposite intention. Okay, but how are curses made in the first place? Nara, now no longer cursed, feeling herself again, says that they knew each other for 5 years. I'm a spirit walker in Gemini Cancer. Spirit walkers can manipulate memory with fear. So she's a spirit walker, and wait, doesn't she also zodiac turn? I don't remember anymore. I don't, what have I ever known? I don't know. Words don't mean things anymore. I'm getting a migraine. They forced my hands on you when I was terrified. It cleared your memory of me. Verina, the leader of Scorpio, she knows I knew you, but I was the only member of the Stellarium who could follow you into Reika and kill you. They want me to retrieve the Colexis. But why did you have to kill her? Why not just send you directly to go get the Colexis and not waste time? And remember that time you just like fucking let her go? Okay. The infectious anger was only but a scar on the outside of her chest. What? The infectious anger was only but a scar. So the sentence needs to be reworked, but like the major problem here is that it says only but a scar. You don't need only and but, you just write only or but. If they find out I told you any of this, they'll kill me, or worse, they'll take my memory and I won't be able to stop them from using me to take your life. So I don't really understand why they didn't just take her memories in the first place. And I also don't know what's stopping her from just saying, I'm not going to return. I'm not going to go back. I'm just going to stay here with y'all. Like, do they have something against you? Are they withholding another family member? Is there somebody you care about? Like, what is making you go back to these people? You were not the only Scorpio they forced me to use spirit walking on. How long did they make you do that? Up until they realized they could use my zodiac turning for much worse and started training me as an assassin. So she is both a spirit walker and a zodiac turner. So can you have more than one arch power? I'm starting to really, like, I don't even feel good anymore. Like, this book is making me sick because I'm just so tired. It's just kicking my ass. Reika, if you get the Colexis, the code is at risk. If they get it, they'll never have to worry about the code being threatened again. Then she says, I had one motive with that damned pendant, and it was to fight against everything you willed. Okay. She tells her not to tell Chase about them being siblings, that Atlas, which is her uncle, and Sora haven't told Chase. It'll make sense later. It's for his sake. By the way, it will not make sense later. Nara says, you need to go. I'll tell the Stellarium I didn't find you. So when Chase wakes up, he's like, why isn't she coming with us? And Reika says, it's complicated. And I'm like, it is? Just say she's dealing with a secondary curse. But also, again, why did she leave? Why is she cursed and not her brother? Back at the house, the chapter ends with, I wasn't sure if my emotions would ever stop smothering me under the guilt flowing through my own blood. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. I don't think I can keep going. I have decided that I cannot take this anymore. Nothing really happens in the end. All that happens is they retrieve the sword and they have to fight some creatures, which are, again, just absolutely ridiculously described. Avia and Chase become a couple. Reika and Nara resume their relationship. Nara comes back to get the sword and then decides to just not take the sword and just stay with them, which she could have done in the first place. They find out that the curse that was put on Nara to stay away from her parents isn't happening anymore. Like, it's just gone. And they're like, Chase needs to be told stuff by his dad, specifically, which is Silas, right? It's also revealed that Kaya's mother is also immortal. All of these fucking immortals, Blaine, Sora, Silas, Atlas, Rhea, who the fuck else? We never see Blaine on page, so we never like actually see the bad guys. What's her name? Verina, the other lady who's leader of Scorpio who does Blaine's bidding. She just never pops up. They just basically get the sword and they're like, all right, we're gonna have to go rally the troops from the other signs and we will fight against the Scorpio Stellarium. And it's just more lines that don't make sense, with words that don't make sense, with descriptions that don't make sense. But like, you can see at this point that there's really nothing here. There's nothing to like here. The descriptions of the places are not well written. I mean, they're depicted great in the art, but the writing itself is so bad. So like, I agree with everybody who's saying if an editor were to come on, they would basically need to take on the title of co-writer, because the amount of work that you would have to do to fix this is so immense. It would only make sense for the editor to be called a co-writer, because you'd have to do so much to fix this. Audra Winter would basically need to relearn how to write in order to fix this. The plot is basically not a plot. It's just a series of reveals. We didn't really do much of anything. Like, we got the sword, but up until a certain point, I had forgot that we were even after the sword. It also doesn't make sense, like, the series of events that we went on, because Atlas and the other immortals could have just fucking raised their kids to do this. They could have just had kids with the purpose of doing this, to get rid of the Scorpio code, but instead they just, like, sent messages and hoped that these kids would stumble into it, and they did. And then they get the sword, and now they're like, guess we'll tell the rest of the signs, but like the rest of the signs have no reason to believe you, like, unless you use the sword and make somebody immortal, which, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be like, this is the sword of Calexis, okay, prove it, and then stab somebody and then stab them again to prove they didn't die? Is that what we're doing? The characters are so flat. They are basically this paper. There's nothing to them. They all sound exactly the same, with the exception of Atlas, who is, again, like the Jeff Goldblum who walks on and he's like, hey kids, I just don't care about any of them. It'd be a better story if they all died gruesomely. At least something would happen on the page that I'd be interested in, but the way it was described would be so weird I'd still have a migraine at the end of it. This had shit poor world building, the most awful writing. Like, this is unreadable. This is the most unreadable thing that I have ever had the displeasure of going through. And I just don't understand, like, for all of the like love, like the love that the author herself seems to have for this world, that does not come across on page at all. I don't know how this possibly happened. Like, there's such a disconnect between the Audra who's obsessed with her world and the actual, like, world that I'm experiencing in this. It's so incredibly flat and beige. I feel nothing reading this except confusion and exhaustion. I have about as much drive to read a book like this as I do to read one of my old Focus on the Family books. Like, the characters are flat and they just are sort of there to have certain conversations that the author seems to want to have, but doesn't really know how to write well and in, like, a personable way where the audience actually falls in love with them. I also cannot stand Reika and how she can do no wrong. I don't know what Chase and Avia see in each other. I don't know what Nara and Reika see in each other. I don't understand the family dynamics. I don't feel like we ever set up the families to, like, me feel like Reika has any actual love for her family. Like, she wasn't even thinking about them the entire time on this mission. And anytime we thought about Avia, who was there, it was just like, oh, Avia's so annoying because she has feelings and has expectations of me. I'm like, oh my God, was this written by me at 12 when I was annoyed with my sister? I really wanted this to be a more in-depth video, but it was honestly so exhausting just going over the incorrect lines that I have burnt out. I cannot sit here and read you my script anymore. I'm too fucking tired. I don't understand how this could possibly be fixed. You know what? After going through this, after filming all of this, I suddenly get it. Now I agree. Everybody can have a refund. Everybody gets a refund now because of the exhaustion of reading this. I mean, my God, like, actually reading it was exhausting, but, like, at least I was, like, texting it to my friends and we were laughing about it, but just sitting here explaining it to you, like, my throat hurts. I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. Can you imagine if this got turned into an audiobook, like how the audiobook narrator would feel? I don't know how you would read this and not stumble over every word. It completely would need to get rewritten. Every single line. We'd also have to develop an actual plot, not just them stumbling into getting the sword and then that's it. Nothing was achieved, and we'd also have to rewrite in order to make it so that, like, characters have an actual character arc and learn something other than Reika, who always had feelings, now knows that she can have feelings even though she has feelings and her mom has feelings and they were both defying the Scorpio code the entire fucking time. That's not a character arc. That's just her being more of who she was when we first met her, and now she's just like, fuck the law. That's just, I'm all done. I can't take anymore. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, leave your zodiac sign down below. I'm gonna go take a nap and maybe cry a little. I don't think I've ever been this burnt out by doing this. And if you don't believe me, you sit here and do it. You read the book and then make an hour's, God, how long is this? How long is this video? I shudder to think. You make an hour's long video dissecting every line of this. You see if you make it to the end. I'm fucking tired. I legitimately feel like I've been drinking. Like, I'm that fucking tired. Anyway, I don't know. Comments and questions down below. God knows that nobody's gonna be able to answer the questions because the book didn't, but we can try. Okay, see you next time. Bye.
Hi, before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Ashley H, Beck, Call Me Kodiak, Choco's Homesick for Taiwan, DJ Rocktopus, Ellie, Emerald Dodge, Eric D, Jade, Jill, John E, Jory, Julie, Kai Brecker has not read Six of Crows, Kalane OK, Katya, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lady Chips Loves Pride, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Other Lex, Lily, Maddie Miss, Megwin Rose, Melissa, Mixer Boneless, Not So Secretly a Skeleton, Peggy Lou Who, Piloting SRN, Rain, Ree, SJ, Samar, Scarlet, Steph B, 3 Raccoons in a Trench Coat, Urchin Audrey, and White Raven 13. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend. Huge thank you to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, Aaron, Alejandra, Alicia, Bobisha, Banana, Fofana, Fofisha. What are we doing? Alicia, Althea, Amanda D, Andy, Angelica, Artie the Ninth, Ava, Barry, Baywing, Beck, Blue Moon Syrup, Bookish by Jenna, Bookish Rabbit, Bridget 108, Kate B, Caitlin, Carlin, Carly, Casper, Kate, Kathy, Celeste, Che, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic Frog, Courtney, Darius, Danielle, Danita, Darren, Desiree Michelle, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorothea Supports Public Education, Draco-chan, Drive-By Thinker, Ebby, Emma, Aaron with 2 E's, Erica May, Aaron Starlight, Fox Waifu, Francis, Gadarn, Hannah C, Helen P, Hurry Singh, JM Tennant, Jackalope Max, Jay is on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Genderqueer, Jenny G, Jesse Ives, Jessa Sue, Jojo Bookish, Juicy Wizard, Caitlin M, Katie L, Katrina, Kayla, Kaylee, Kayala, Kendra, Kiara, KMTB, Kayana, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura is Angry, Lauren G, Lazarus Ray, Lindsay M, LP, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Mataraptor, Madison, Man-Eating Plant, Megan, Malara, Mima Who, Morgan the Friendly Ghost, Myth Lesbian, NM Rap, Natural Blues, Nicole G, Paige P, Penelope, Penny Chilling, Foxglove, Pick a God and Pray, Plague Carrier, Pandemonium, Queen Cereal, Rach, Rachel B, Rebecca, Rebecca R, Ren Flynn, Rhea, Reese, Ronnie, Rosie, Sikoria, Saintbringer, Sakya Lume, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Shamed, Shannon, Sheen Onion, Sean, Sophie, Talia, That One Cute Chick, This Is Not a Trap, Too Thick to Work Tomorrow, Triple M, Tito Phoenix, and Unicorn Jenny. Thank you all so much for being a friend.